Good morning, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the Batter Round, coming to you live from our Towson studios on a beautiful and crisp Saturday morning. The Batter Round is brought to you by the FanDuel Sportsbook at Live Casino and Hotel. Come experience Maryland's #1 sportsbook this NFL season at the FanDuel Sportsbook at Live Casino and Hotel. The ultimate place for any sports enthusiast. Take advantage of our 24/7 kiosks, massive video screens, and watch all the action from the best seat in the house. With more money paid out than anyone around, make every moment more at the new FanDuel Sportsbook at Live Casino and Hotel in Hanover, Maryland. Zachary Goodman, we missed you last week. Good morning, buddy. How are you?
I'm great. I sound a little low here. There we go. That's about right.
I sound a little low too. The level's good.
We're good now. I was turned all the way down, so but I'm good.
You sound loud now.
Maybe I'm loud a little bit. Yeah.
We're kinks that we work out live on the air.
We always figure it out.
We're professionals.
Well,
here.
it's impossible to know basically before you get on here.
Yeah.
But
no, trust me, man. I did not. I sat in that producer's chair last week, and I'm like, man, I do not miss this.
Yeah, it's a lot of stuff over here.
And don't get me wrong, that's not a knock towards Glenn. I got into a groove with Glenn, and it became second nature to me. But then when you don't do it for a long time, and then you get back in that chair, you're like, oh man, this is stressful when you're not familiarized.
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
We missed you last week. You did fairly well in your golf tournament. How'd that go?
I did okay. I mean, the first day was really, I played okay for a tournament. I was kind of feeling the pressure. Second day, so we walked 10 miles on the first day of the tournament because they didn't give us carts because you had to pay like $30 a person if you wanted a cart. And I wasn't really into that. So we walked, and
you picked the wrong sport.
I know.
For a hobby, man. Golf's an expensive hobby.
Oh, sure, but I wasn't about to pay $30 to buy a cart, so I figured, okay, I'll walk. We walked 10 miles. We stayed in this awful Comfort Inn in Clinton, Maryland, and the second day we came out, and we were all just tired. We all played horrible the second day. I'm not even going to announce my score on here for the second day. First day I played okay. Second day was horrible because I was tired. My body was exhausted, and it wasn't a good day. But it was fun to get tournament experience playing the first one, and hopefully more coming soon. But yeah, it was fun. More
coming soon. I played the Wetlands last Monday.
Oh yeah.
Wife was not happy with me because I had nothing else going on that day, and I was like, you know what? It's a nice day. I'm going to go play some golf.
Why not?
She had ordered HelloFresh, and it was supposed to be delivered that day, and I didn't know that. And so it got delivered while I was on like the fourth hole, and I was like, all right,
sitting outside.
I was like, I'm not going home to pick that up. Wife's on jury duty. Pretty interesting case that I'm not allowed to talk about. She doesn't really talk to me about it. I don't know much about it.
I don't think she's allowed to, right?
Yeah, what's that?
She's not allowed to.
She's not allowed to. Yeah. I just know like what it's about, like the charge. That's all I know. But anyway, so she was gone all day. I played golf. I shot an 89. I chipped in for birdie on the first hole.
Nice.
I parred the second hole. I parred the third hole, and then didn't get my next par until hole number 11.
That sounds like tournament day 2 for me.
Yeah, it was.
Sounds like tournament day 2.
So usually, if I birdie the first hole, it's a bad day. It's going to be a bad day.
Really?
I'll usually birdie the first hole and then triple the second hole. But I'm in a spot now where like when I play, I can tell that I know how to play golf. And that, like, when I get into a rhythm, I'll be good. But because I play so infrequently now, that rhythm, it's harder to get into it. And then I'll feel like I'm in it, and randomly I'll chunk an approach shot. You know? And
sure.
For no freaking reason. And I'll just get so angry. Like, oh, my God, I hit a great shot. I'm 100 yards out on a par 4, laying 1. And chunk it 20 yards in front of me with giant tuft of grass comes flying up.
I actually, on day 2, I shanked a ball into the woods. Off the hosel. It was about 115 yards out with a wedge. I shanked it.
What's the hosel?
It's the part that connects the shaft to the club head. So I hit it off the inside. It went dead right into the trees.
Off the hosel. I've been playing golf my whole life, and I've never heard of the hosel.
You haven't been paying enough attention then, man.
No, I've never heard anybody call it the hosel. It's because you work for a golf company and you
I promise you,
you help people fit their clubs. I believe that that's what it's called.
Yes.
But you know it because you have to know the parts of a golf club. You're the first person in my 38 plus years on this earth
That's funny.
that I've heard call it the hosel. By the way, this is a baseball show.
It is.
This is a baseball show, not fairways and greens like Drew Forrester has on 105.
It's a great name.
It is a great name. Free plug there for Drew and his show. It's a really good show. His show has actually helped me with my golf game. I've listened to some tips that he's given, and it's actually helped me improve my game. I don't think he likes me very much, but whatever. He's helping me with my golf game. So, baseball show. Phillies take a 2-1 series lead over the Padres with a 4-2 victory last night. Gene Segura with a huge 2-run single in the fourth inning. And look, it's the fourth inning, right? So it's not like this is like towards the end of the game, but you kind of had that feeling last night. It's 1-1. And both starting pitchers had kind of settled in, right? So you gotta have this feeling that like this is a part of the game that might make or break this thing, right? And Segura comes through with the big 2-run single with 2 outs there in the fourth inning, gives the Phillies a 3-1 lead. He promptly gets picked off. Maybe he was too amped up about it, but it was a cool moment, a big clutch hit for them. The Phillies bats have been up until last night. They hadn't been very good hitting with runners in scoring position, but the team has 10 home runs in 8 games, and all the home runs have just seemed really timely for this team. Bryce Harper came back off the IL down the stretch of the season, didn't play well. You could tell his timing was just off, but he gets to the playoffs and he becomes Bryce Harper again. He's hotter than hot. Kyle Schwarber hit a 488-foot home run the other day and then hits a leadoff home run yesterday. So the Phillies, the bats have been, while maybe not clutch with runners in scoring position, the home runs that they hit all seem big.
Yeah.
They all seem big, but the story of this series, of this postseason, is the Phillies starting pitching.
Mm-hmm.
In 61 innings, Phillies starters have given up 12 runs.
Yeah.
12 runs. They're pitching to a 2.25 ERA.
It's Guardian-esque.
This postseason. How when you think of the Phillies, you don't think of pitching.
No, you definitely think of the big bats they have in their lineup.
And honestly, Aaron Nola is probably their best starter. He and Zach Wheeler are kind of like 1A and 1B.
Yes.
But Aaron Nola is supposed to be their best guy, and he's the one who's gotten roughed up the most. And when I say rough, he hasn't even been roughed up, but he's given up a handful of runs, and they're still pitching to a 2.25 ERA.
Yeah.
How impressive have you been with the Phillies since the postseason started? Because they backed into the playoffs. They crawled in.
They did. And I think it was a lot because of subpar play the entire season. They were a fine team. I wouldn't say they were one of the best teams in baseball, but they were a fine team, and they played well throughout the season. But their bats, guys like Kyle Schwarber hit 46 home runs, and guys like Bryce Harper, who was, for the majority of the season, a very, very good player. Guys like Bryson Stott started to get hot down the stretch. The story was the bats. And now you look at the pitching, a guy like Ranger Suarez has really stepped up. Ranger Suarez has been so far solid in the playoffs. Aaron Nola, Zach Wheeler are two very, very good pitchers who can give you good starts at any time, even if Nola hasn't had the best playoff run so far. These are all really good pitchers. The three of those guys are, and that's really, I think, what all you need in the playoffs is just three really quality starting pitchers, and that's what they have.
The Nationals proved that in 2019. They started the season 19-31. They had, at that point, until the Orioles came about the next 2 years, at that point they had the worst bullpen in the history of the game.
Yeah,
and then they get to the postseason and they have a really good Patrick Corbin at the time. He's not good anymore, but he shows glimpses. A really good Steven Strasburg, and prime Max Scherzer, and that carried them to a World Series title.
Yeah,
like literally out of nowhere. Nobody was thinking about the Nationals winning the World Series that year, and they come out of nowhere and win the World Series, and that's kind of what the Phillies are doing right now. Very 2019 Nationals-esque.
Very much so. Yeah.
Now I ask you this. What's the better storyline? Because you've got the Phillies. They get off to a slow start this year. They fire Joe Girardi. Since firing Joe Girardi, third best record in all of baseball. Bryce Harper signs that huge contract and kind of sold himself short on the contract. It was 13 years, and I think it was under $30 million a year, but he took lesser money to know that he was going to be someplace for the rest of his career, right? For that comfortability. Wins the MVP last year, and now he's just absolutely gone bananas in the postseason. He's the heart and soul of that team, if you ask me. So is that the better storyline, or is it Manny Machado carrying the Padres this year. Tatis never plays a game. Soto, Bell, Drury, Hader, they all come over at the deadline and they all struggle mightily. I think that I think all the batters except for Drury hit below 200, and Hader had an ERA north of 5.5 with the team. Yet Bob Melvin and Manny Machado has his team 3 wins from the World Series. The city of San Diego has never won a professional sports championship unless you count the 1963 AFL championship. But they've never won an NFL. They've never won a Super Bowl. They've never won a World Series. They don't even have teams in the other sports. They only have one professional sports team now.
Right.
Are the Padres the better story, or are the Phillies finally getting there, having to fire a renowned manager to get there? Are they the better story?
I think the Phillies are the better story at the moment because the Phillies, to me, look so dominant because they're so clutch at the moment. They're getting every hit they need to get. They're pitching so well. They're limiting other teams. The Phillies look like the most complete team in the playoffs right now. The Astros have been really good. Don't get me wrong. The Astros have played really well, and their starting pitching and hitting has been very, very good. But the Phillies, they're winning dominantly. I mean, you look at the scores they've put up over the playoffs so far, and they've won every game, or not every game, but close to every game, pretty dominantly. And they've
the
played,
last 2 games they won against the Braves. They won 9-1 and 8-3.
Right, and sure, last night's game wasn't dominant. I mean, Gene Segura was the big story of last night's game.
When he got the hit, you kind of knew the game was over. And it was the 4th inning.
You did. And Segura, by the way, that hit, the way he stuck the bat out there on a slider, breaking down and away from him, and just punched it in the right field. That's the kind of hits you need in the playoffs. Those are the kind of ones. That's a quality hit. That's a hit that is very, very hard to achieve.
And the celebration. So I didn't actually see the hit. I was at work, and I looked up, and I saw the guy, the third run of the game crossing the plate. Right, the second guy on the hit crossing the plate, and then they went to Segura running out of the box in slow motion, throwing the bat
Spiked
down,
it,
and I thought he hit a home run. The way that he reacted, I thought he hit a home run, and then I saw him on first base, and I'm like, wow, that is quite the celebration for a single. And then he got picked off.
Right, but, he did. And a few defensive mishaps last night as well, which has become, I guess, kind of synonymous with him. There's a lot of ups and downs in his game, but he's a very clutch player in a lot of situations, and one of those was last night. And again, like you said, you look at the 4th inning, and I mean, there's still a lot of baseball left to be played, but you kind of felt it was over. Yeah. The tide had kind of turned their way. The momentum was all behind them, and they won the game. And that's credit to them. Yeah, they've played really good baseball.
And it's funny, man, because you look at the Padres, and the Padres, man, they have a lot of punch in that lineup, but they kind of have this thing about them where once they get down, they kind of like roll over.
Yeah.
And you hate to say that about a professional team, but for some reason, and I've always felt this way about the Padres, as soon as they get down, they roll over. Now, and that's not to say that they never come back, because they've had plenty of highlights of them coming back in ball games and being down but not out. But I just, when they're getting dominated by a pitcher, it almost always seems over. To me. Now, you mentioned that the Phillies might be the most complete team in these playoffs, and the Astros are really good. Yankees trail the Astros 2-0. They can't seem to ever get past. Look, this year they went 2-5 against the Astros. Last year they went 4-2 against the Astros. But we always see, if the Yankees are in the postseason, we always see the Astros celebrating while the Yankees are just standing there like, wow, we lost again.
That's where they falter.
Right? And is this the series nobody wanted?
Oh, 100%.
I can't imagine that anybody outside of New York and Houston wanted to see this.
No.
And even then, if you're a Houston fan, it's like, really, like you know that maybe you do want to face the Yankees because you know that they're your bitch, right? But if you're the Yankees, you don't want to face the Astros because you can't beat them.
Right.
They might as well be the Mariners.
And outside
cannot beat the Astros.
Outside of being a fan of either team, I don't think anyone wants to see the Astros, who've been in it year after year after year.
If they go to the World Series, it'll be their 4th one in 6 years.
Right, and they're consistently in the ALCS, consistently.
6 straight seasons.
And there's still a lot of people, I'm not one of them, that are upset about the sign-stealing scandal.
Everybody was doing it.
Right, everyone's
That's how I feel about
2017.
Steroids.
Right.
That's how I feel about steroids. Everybody was doing it.
It's not something I'm currently angry about at the moment, but It's definitely a boring series. I mean, the Yankees, again, they have 27 World Series championships, and of course, the last one was in 2009, but they're a team that consistently is in it every year. So, yeah, this is a boring series. I would have loved to see a team that's more of an underdog be here, because that's a lot more exciting. That's a lot more interesting.
I have no rooting interest in this series.
No.
Like, the only rooting interest is just shutting the Yankees up. Because, man, they bitch
So you're
about,
rooting for the Astros. You do have a rooting interest.
But I'm not really rooting for the Astros either, because once they get to the World Series, and the Astros are going to the World Series.
Mm-hmm.
The Yankees are not going to win 4 games in the next 5, right? The Astros are going to the World Series. Once they get there, it's whoever's there from the National League. I don't care who's there. I have a rooting interest in the Phillies because my stepdad's from Philly. My 2 best men are from Philly. And I have a rooting interest in the Padres because Manny Machado. And I think Bob Melvin is a difference maker there, because Jace Tingler had a very similar roster last year, and he couldn't do jack squat.
So I think Frank Thomas said it last night on the postgame show. He said, once you win 2 games, I think it's a 76% chance that you're going to go on to the World Series.
Like if you go up 2-0 or 2-1 or something like that.
Right. I think if you win the first 2 games, or not win the first 2 games, but you're the first team to 2 wins, then you're going to probably go to the World Series. And for the Astros, I would say it looks more like 90%. They just beat the Yankees it's consistently year in, year out.
Even if the Yankees beat them in the regular season, the Astros have that playoff pedigree. It's crazy, right, to say the Astros have that playoff pedigree the Yankees don't have. But they do. Because the Yankees can't beat them in the playoffs.
I think people forget, too, about how young the Yankees are right now. They are one of the younger teams because of so many injuries. I mean, they don't have guys like LeMahieu right now. A lot of these team leaders are not there, and that's a big issue.
You take Judge out of that lineup, and, you have boppers like Stanton and Rizzo, but they're low-average, high-strikeout guys. You take Judge out of that lineup, and they become very, very flawed.
Yeah.
Very, very beatable, which is why even when they got off that historic start, and they were like, "Oh, they're gonna break the old record of 120 wins or whatever, or 116 wins." I was like, "No, they're not. No, they're not." Because, like, I knew that at some point they were gonna falter, and sure enough, in July and August they were just god awful. Because they're every team is flawed, but they are a very flawed good team.
Yeah.
But man, like I said, watching them be shut up because all they do is cry. All they do is cry. We saw it here in Baltimore where Aaron Judge hits 2 home runs in a game, almost hits a third, but it goes off the top of Mount Baltimore out there, right? And then he's like, "Oh, that wall's a joke. It's build a park and all that." Like, dude, you already hit 2 home runs over it. You're really gonna bitch because you hit one off the top of the wall in a game you guys won like 8-2. Shut up. And then Aaron Boone echoes that sentiment, saying it's create a park and all that. Then the Astros had the roof closed the other night, and Judge hits a ball 108 miles an hour, 106 miles an hour off the bat, 27-degree launch angle, and it's called at the wall. And it would have been a home run in two ballparks in all of baseball, one of them being Yankee Stadium. And Boone complains that the roof being closed robbed them, or the roof not being closed, the roof being open, the wind robbed them of a home run. And then Luis Severino saying Bregman's home run was 91 miles an hour off the bat. Judge's home run was 106 miles an hour off the bat. Tell me who hit the ball better. They just got lucky. Well, no, you gave up a home run, and Bregman in his home park hit the ball where he knows where to hit it, right? Just crying, making excuses. It's like, can we just tell him to shut the F up and play baseball?
Well, I think that's what the Astros are going to do. They're gonna shut them up, hopefully, when they advance to the World Series. I mean, I guess I would say I have no rooting interest specifically either, but it probably would be for the Astros for those specific reasons right there. You want to talk about build a park. Yankee Stadium is, what, 314 to right field? You can hit a line drive or a pop-up that gets out basically nowhere else and have it be a home run. So for them to be upset about those things are ridiculous because, frankly, they get stat padded a lot in Yankee Stadium because of what happens there with the wall being 314 feet out there. I don't really have a specific problem with any of the Yankees, but I do think they are the worst team and that Houston really deserves to move on here because outside of Aaron Judge, I mean, guys like Cabrera and guys like Bader, they're fine, but the Astros are just a better team at this point. They just are.
Yeah, and they will continue to be until the Yankees address their real issues. And their real issues are they have a bunch of guys that are all or nothing.
They're just too young right now,
too. In their lineup. They have a bunch of young players that I don't know they're ever going to turn out to be anything noteworthy. Yeah. And their bullpen's hurt. And if you don't have Garrett Cole or Taillon going, Severino's fine, but he's not what he used to be. To me, the Yankees just don't have the pitching. If Garrett Cole or and you know what, Nestor Cortez is really good. He is. They have 3 really good starters, but the bullpen's hurt, and to me, they're just a flawed team. They're just a flawed team. Now, speaking of, I guess I didn't know how to segue there. So, terrible segue. Braves, Dodgers. Braves are the defending world champions, win 101 games. They're ousted in 4 games in the NLDS. Dodgers, all-star roster. Best roster in baseball year in and year out. They win 111 games. Mm-hmm. They lose in 4 to the Padres in the National League Division Series. How big of an upset are these two teams being out of the playoffs before the League Championship Series?
I think the Braves a lot less so because they only won the division in the last few days of that. I mean, the Mets led the division pretty much for the entire year until the Braves overtook them in the very last. I believe it was they played a 4-game series and the Braves ended up winning that. And they won the division.
It was a 3-game series and the Braves swept them.
Right, exactly. That's what it was. Okay. So I wouldn't say that's entirely shocking to me. I don't think the Braves are as good as they were last year, and I don't think they're really close because they don't have that team leader like Freddie Freeman, and they were missing a few guys, and they're just they had some inexperience. I mean, even a guy like Spencer Strider who was really good. They were young, the Braves. So I think next year they might come out a lot stronger than they were this year, and they had their championship run last year. But the Dodgers, it's a lot more surprising. You look at the lineup that they have and the pitching rotation and the bullpen, and it's all stacked. We talk about that over and over with the Dodgers, that they completely stack every single part of their lineup. And even when they put bench guys in, you've still got more or less all-stars running around at all 9 positions, which is crazy to me. But that's always the way it's been with the Dodgers. They spend a lot of money. They have an incredible farm system. They are probably the best-run team in baseball year in, year out. So to see them get ousted in the first series is always incredibly surprising because of the talent they have, because of the pedigree that they have, and because of the pipeline that they have to keep producing these incredible players. And they know how to win. The Dodgers are a team that wins year in, year out, and they're really good at it. They have their formula figured out. So to me, that was a bigger surprise over the Braves for sure.
And it's kind of become the Dodgers' MO. They have 10 straight postseason appearances, which is insane, right? They have, in a full 162 game season, 9 straight 90+ win seasons. The 10th season being the year they went 43-17 and won the World Series. That truncated 60 game season. 9 straight 90+ win seasons, and in those 10 playoff appearances, they've been knocked out in the division series 4 times, knocked out in the championship series 3 times, knocked out in the World Series twice with 1 championship. Dave Roberts gets another vote of confidence from ownership and the front office. At what point does the lack of championships become... And look, only one team ends the season happy, right? At what point does the fact that, you're good at getting to the tournament but not winning it, at what point does that become a factor in whether or not you keep Dave Roberts around? And I'm not saying that he should be fired. I'm not saying he should be on the hot seat. But when you're the Dodgers, the expectations, you're the Yankees now. The expectations should be we win the World Series every year. And if you don't, your season is a failure. Yeah,
I mean, I look at Dave Roberts and I see one of the best managers in baseball year in, year out. I don't really think he would be the problem here. I don't think I think the culture he looking for the right words here.
Implements.
The culture he cultivates is very successful, and it's one that leads them to the playoffs year in, year out. And again, they're really talented. They have stacked positions up and down the board, and they have money they can keep pouring in. The pipeline keeps producing great players. So I don't know if Dave Roberts being fired and then bringing in a new guy, perhaps with inexperience or whatever it is really going to make a huge difference. I think the culture is really good. I think the way the team is run is really good. I think it's just that, again, the point that you made, one team wins every year, and they haven't been the one as of late to be that team outside of the truncated season in 2020. So I don't really think it's on Dave Roberts. I just think it's on really luck of the draw. I don't think there's any problem with the way the team's being run.
And I'm not saying that I think that Dave Roberts should be fired.
No, I understand.
I'm not saying that at all. But he's receiving another vote of confidence, and he's got 4 seasons of 104+ wins. That vote of confidence is great, but 1 World Series championship in 10 straight postseason appearances, I feel like you got to start winning something. And it's crazy because at no point does fire Dave Roberts ever cross my mind. And I know that I'm a big fire this guy person. By the way, can I just say, people are saying you shouldn't be asking for somebody to lose their job. These guys are millionaires. These guys are millionaires, and they're managing major league
And that's
teams.
the business.
So right, and that's the business. You're hired to be fired, right? So I don't care if you shouldn't want this guy to lose his job. He'll be fine.
Yeah.
He'll be fine. And if he gets fired and doesn't find another job coaching or managing in baseball, he'll have a job as an analyst at MLB Network. Yeah. So making close to $1 million again. So I don't want to hear this. You shouldn't wait. Shut up. This guy. It's not like this guy is working at McDonald's supporting a family on $25,000 a year. He'll be all right. He'll be all right. Anyway, big show coming up for you today. We've got Stan the Fan, Charles, in a matter of moments here. Going to talk the playoffs, going to talk some Orioles stuff. MLB Trade Rumors put out their Orioles offseason outlook, and I found it interesting. We're going to get into that in a little bit. And then at 11 o'clock, from Fox Sports San Diego, Tony Gwynn Jr. will make his second appearance on the Bat Around, talk about the Padres and whatever else he wants to plug. Really excited to do some Orioles banter. We're going to talk about players who are kind of on the bubble for the Orioles and ultimately whether or not we think they're going to end up on this roster to start 2023. We'll go over that MLB Trade Rumors Orioles offseason outlook article because this was the first publication that I read that basically said, we have no idea what the Orioles are going to do.
Yeah.
They have no idea, and they took a stab at things, but they were like, we honestly just don't know.
They said it's like a grand mystery, I believe is the word they used. And it is. It really is a grand mystery. You don't know what Mike Elias is going to do in the first really competitive offseason for them.
Right. Then, not to mention, Zach has a really good he didn't send me the notes because I just gave him the go-ahead to do it on this, but he's going to be sounding off on Gold Gloves.
Figured we'd make it somewhat of a discussion today. Kind of, we can debate about it. I don't know if we agree. We haven't talked about it, so we'll figure that out.
We actually, depending on how long Stan goes, we have a lot of stuff for Stan today. We may push that to the 11 o'clock hour. But we'll see how things go with Stan. Zach's going to get him on the line right now. In the meantime, just want to remind you, the Press Box's Glenn Clark Radio is the definitive place to find the best daily discussion of Baltimore sports. Watch the show every weekday from 10 to noon at youtube.com/PressBoxOnline or Facebook.com/PressBoxSports or listen at PressBoxOnline.com/radio. With podcasts available on iTunes, Spotify, or anywhere you get your podcasts, you never know who might pop up on GCR. This week, the guys caught up with Super Bowl 47 champions like Ray Rice, Donnell Ellerbe, and Brendan Iambadejo before the 10th anniversary celebration at Sunday's game. Find those interviews and more in the Glenn Clark Radio Week in Review feature at PressBoxOnline.com. Joining us now on the PressBox Sports line, we have Stan the Fan, Charles. Stan, good morning. How are you today?
Good morning, Paul. Good morning, Zach.
Sorry, you broke up a little bit there. Zach, you said good morning to you.
I said good morning to both of you.
Yep. Yes, you did. Good morning, Stan. How was before we get started? How was the Maryland 5-star last weekend?
Maryland 5-star was really great. Really great. Yeah. Very, very interesting. I'm learning a little bit more about it each year. It's not something you can go out and, with baseball, I can go out to 100. I could see 100 games a year in baseball. That's never going to happen with like a 5-star eventing world, but I'm learning a little bit more each year. And the crowd on Saturday, I don't know what the crowd was like on Sunday. Crowd Saturday was spectacular. It was a beautiful day and really exciting event.
Well, I'm glad you were able to take that in, Stan, and it certainly is an event that people should get out to. Horse racing is a big thing in the state of Maryland. The Maryland 5-star, you get to see Olympic athletes out there. They do this every October?
Yeah, the date could change slightly, but October, it'll be late September or through mid-October.
Absolutely. Well, we look forward to seeing that again next year and every year to come. Now, Stan, let's talk a little bit about baseball here. Phillies, They beat the Padres last night 4-2, take a 2-1 series lead. The Phillies are 3-0 at home this season. The bats have been clutch, especially in the home run department. What has impressed you the most? Has it been the timely and big dramatic home runs for the Phillies, or has it been their starting rotation that's pitched to a 2.25 ERA this postseason?
I would say both, and that's what needed to happen, and also sort of the late emergence of Sir Anthony Dominguez and Jose Alvarado as late inning options, while David Robertson was hurt. That gives them, none of them on the surface is, say a Kenley Jansen or a Felix Bautista or, in the old days, Mariano Rivera or Bruce Sutter, but it gives them the depth necessary for the manager to maneuver through multiple situation options.
Yeah, they've been the pitching has been fantastic. The bats have been fantastic, but it didn't start out that way this year for the Phillies. They got off to a bit of a slow start. They ended up firing Joe Girardi about a third of the way, maybe a little less than halfway into the season, and then they immediately win 7 games in a row without him. They have the third best record in baseball after firing Joe Girardi. Is that the better story in this series, Stan, or is it the San Diego Padres knocking off the giant, bitter rival Dodgers, who won 111 games this year, have that all-star roster, and this is a city that's never seen a professional sports championship unless you count the 1963 AFL championship game.
Who wouldn't count that?
Yeah.
But who wouldn't count that?
Right. You got to cling to something, right?
John Hadel probably a quarterback, and Lance Allworth probably the receiver.
I'll tell you, I've never heard of those guys. So
they're both terrific stories in their own right. I find, look, when they hired Bob Melvin, A.J. Preller did the smartest thing he's done in his tenure as general manager over there. Bob Melvin is really at the top of his game. And conversely, over in Philadelphia, for Dave Dombrowski to fire Joe Girardi, and I heard him the other day on a pregame show on XM radio with Jim Bowden and whoever else, I forget who else, with Mike Farron and somebody else was on with them. It was Kevin Franzen. He explained, one of the unique things he does is Mike Elias might travel with the Orioles for 15 or 20 games. Mm-hmm. Dave Dombrowski probably travels more than any other general manager. He doesn't butt in and go try and tell a hitter how to change his approach, or he doesn't butt in and tell a pitching coach how to handle something. But he is in the locker room more than any other general manager, and he talked about that. That's the way he learned how to do the job back in the old days. When he was an assistant to Roland Heeman in Chicago, or he was in Montreal as an assistant general manager, and that really that gave him the ability to get a real sense. It's like a dipstick into your oil tank to literally see how things are. And he just didn't have a good sense of this club, and it was going to be a lot easier to bite the bullet and get rid of Joe Girardi than it was to unload some contracts or go out and get some big time talent. He thought that there was enough talent on hand. So I give him a lot of props for doing a great job at sort of delivering this team at the right time. And two of the key moves were moving in Brandon Stott to be the everyday shortstop and getting somebody that could really go get the ball in center field, Brandon Marsh. They really elevated up the middle, and it's a good part of why they're where they are now.
Yeah, you've got to be strong up the middle if you want to stand a chance in today's game. That's absolutely for sure. Now, Stan, so do you have a rooting interest? I know you love baseball and you just want to watch good baseball, but you have a rooting interest one way or the other on who comes out of the National League.
I would. I'm a Dave Dombrowski guy. I'm not an A.J. Preller guy. So the Phillies are kind of my team. A lot of times they've been my default National League team. I used to park cars when I went to college in the early 70s. I used to go up and live at my uncle and aunt's home in Margate, New Jersey, and I parked cars there. And that was what the guys that I hung with, we were 19, 20 years old. we would drive to Philly to see the Phillies play, and that was just when that Philly team that ended up winning the championship in 1980 had really matured into that team. But I got to see Mike Schmidt, when he was a kid. I got to see Steve Carlton that year. They went 27-5. One of the most remarkable seasons I've ever witnessed.
I'll tell you.
That was back. By the way, that was back when the Phillies. That was before the Phillies got good. He won. I think the Phillies won 58 or 59 games that year. He won 27 of them.
Wow, that's impressive.
Yeah.
That's impressive.
Yeah.
Now, and I gotta tell you, Stan, I'm a big Manny Machado fan, and I'm a big believer in Bob Melvin, and I think that the Padres underperformed under Jace Tingler. But there's something about the Phillies. I like Bryce Harper. My stepdad's from Philly. My two best men are from Philly. So I find it hard to root against them. I think ultimately I'm pulling for the Phillies regardless. Although I do think it would be cool for San Diego to experience a professional championship.
It would be great. It would be great. Look, I wouldn't be upset if either of those teams. I've been on Preller a lot this year during my writing my power rankings. I just think he's a guy that constantly, makes a big splash. We've talked about it a little bit before. He's like sort of reinventing the team, and then they fizzle. Now, in fairness to him this year, the Fernando Tatis second, was zapping when he got suspended for the last 80 games when the team was waiting for him to get healthy from a motorcycle accident, which, by the way, could have voided his contract.
Yeah.
So it was a really, it was a real bummer for that team, and it's really speaks to what Bob Melvin has created there. He's been able to create a winning culture.
Yeah, he certainly has. In a short period of time, it's his first year there, and you kind of knew that he was probably going to be the difference maker in San Diego because they had all the talent to be very good, and I think he gets them over the hump. Now, I had a feeling that Melvin was going to be. I thought at the end of last year that they were going to, the Yankees were going to fire Boone and go after Bob Melvin. Well,
but it didn't pan out that way.
I mean, they're there. They got 99 wins, and they're in the ALCS. Now they're down 2-0 in the ALCS. First and foremost, Stan, is this the series that basically nobody wanted? I can't imagine many people wanting to see Yankees and Astros for the right to go to the World Series.
I don't know. I don't quite know what you mean by that. That they both have some kind of dark side to them or something, because they're the two best teams in the American League. I mean, why wouldn't you want to see them? I don't think this series, it'll be a long shot, but I remember one time in the NBA Finals, the Philadelphia 76ers went ahead of the Portland Trailblazers 2-0, and a gambling friend of mine said, this is a great opportunity to get value, because nobody thinks they can come back. It's a unique series in this way. And look, I could be talking out of both sides of my mouth because the series could be over in 2 days. But with Garrett Cole, very rarely does a team get their number one starter pitching in Game 3. And I would say their number 2 starter is Cortez. He pitches in Game 4. I would not be surprised if there's sort of an afterlife right now to this series, and that we're not looking Monday at a 2-2 series.
Sure.
It would not shock me at all.
And Stan, we saw in 1996, the Braves went up 2-0 on the Yankees in the World Series, and the Yankees won the next 4 games. And we don't even need to get into the Red Sox Yankees in 2004. It's been done before. And when I say series nobody wanted, it's because most people, unless you're a Yankees fan, you either love them or you hate them. And the Astros, A, they've been there 3 times in the last 5 years, and B, a lot of people are still hung up on the cheating scandal, which I'm not one of those people, but it just seems like, the two evils.
Look, that's a narrative that's going to stick with the Astros 10 years from now. People will be, banging about that. But they're a marvelous team to watch.
Yeah, they're good.
They're real good, but I just think back to how the Orioles, forget how poor the offense has been for the Yankees. I just think they're more pitchable. After watching the Orioles, totally dominate them down there pitching wise.
Mm-hmm.
You know, in Houston for 3 games. They've got some holes in that lineup that I don't know that the Yankees have exploited yet. You know, they're not as all powerful as they seemed five years ago. You know,
you're absolutely right, Sam.
They really look. Yeah,
I remarked a couple of times this year that this is, in my opinion, aside from Alvarez, this might be the worst Astros lineup I've seen in their run of the last 6 years. So I agree with you that the bats could end up costing them a couple of games in this series.
The problem the Yankees have in this series is, let's say my scenario is right, that they're Monday morning we're tied 2-2.
Mm-hmm.
How the hell do they win 2 of the next 3 games? That would be miraculous, you know.
Yeah,
they'll probably need a full bullpen game, and I really think Brian Cashman, you know, it's interesting. You watch the Harrison Bader trade, how it's panning out now,
mm-hmm.
and you know there was some wisdom there. And I know he acquired Scott Efros. He tried to patch up that bullpen, but it's just surprising to me that they're where they are, and some of the options that they have on that pitching staff are just, they're not what I would expect of the Yankees.
Yeah, but you know what, Sam, and Zach and I were talking about this. They've got 3 good starting pitchers. They've got Garrett Cole, Nestor Cortez, Jameson Taillon. The bullpen is beat up, right? The bullpen is going to give them a little bit of trouble. But when you have 3 legitimate starters in the postseason, it's anybody's game at that point. I think the Yankees have a fighting chance. I still ultimately think
it would be fun if I think it would be fun if we woke up Monday and that series is tied 2-2.
Sure, and it's intriguing. You know that you're going probably 6, that you're going at least 6 and probably 7 games in the series.
Yeah.
And that's fun. You know, no matter what, Game 7 is always fun. Now, what's not fun, Stan, is the Yankees consistently making excuses after losses. And we saw it in Camden Yards when Judge hit 2 homers and then cried because he didn't get the third one because it hit off the top of the wall. And he and Boone called it build a park or create your own park. And then they're complaining the other night about the roof not being closed in Houston, and that Bregman's home run was hit so much softer than Judge's fly out. Is it time for us to just tell the Yankees to shut up and play baseball? I feel like there's always an excuse for them.
I don't quite see it that way. You know, yeah, some of it's aggravating to me, but I just laugh it off. You know.
Yeah.
What's Aaron Boone supposed to blame it on? Poor managing or poor general managing? You know, they're always going to have some kind of snide answer like that. You know.
I'll tell you.
Just go out and play the games. You know.
I'll tell you. My wife says this to me all the time. She's like, there doesn't always need to be somebody to blame, right? There doesn't always need to be somebody to blame.
Yep.
You can just say, you know what?
Your wife's a smart woman.
Obviously, she married me. But
she married you. Yeah.
but I mean, you can just go out there and say, you know what? They beat us tonight. We'll try and get them in the next game. But there's got to be an excuse, right? What's the excuse for the Dodgers and the Braves? Braves defending champions, 101 win season. Dodgers 111 wins, all-star roster. Both of them home after the NLDS. What's going on there? Are these 2 big upsets, or is that just the game?
They were giant upsets, I believe. You know, I mean, I think the fact that the three best teams during the course of a 162 game season were in the National League were the 3 teams that got bumped off. You know, the Mets in the first round, and then the Dodgers in Atlanta in the second round. You know. Those general managers, you know, will go back to the drawing board, and I guarantee you the Dodgers will shore up their, bullpen deficiencies. And I don't see personally any way that Clayton Kershaw leaves there. You know, he's put so much time in, and you know, there's equity in being a Dodger for life. So I think that he will stay there. Buehler, of course, is, you know, who knows what they'll get out of him. Probably won't get much next year. They need Dustin May to step up, but they've got a couple people in that are in the shop, so to speak, and Tony Gonsolin and Julio Urias, who are tremendous, pitchers. I don't think Gonsolin got back to what he is, you know, and that was unfortunate for them. I think they were counting just like Atlanta was counting on, both of those teams made sort of big gulp decisions of starting those guys in important games, and they both got sort of paid dearly for it. Spencer Strider and Tony Gonsolin. Strider in Atlanta and Gonsolin. So I think you'll see the Dodgers shore up the bullpen. They'll probably be in the market for a hitter or two to spread out that lineup a little bit. They've got a big contract decision with Trey Turner to make. It'll be interesting to see how they handle that. So they got a lot of work. And Atlanta, they should be right back in the hunt next year. They got a great baseball person running that organization in Alex Anthopoulos. So it'll be interesting. And it's going to be a very competitive offseason. As we see already, the Texas Rangers, to me, Chris Young, who pitched for Bruce Bochy 1 year in San Diego back before he became manager of the Giants. So he has a little bit of history with Bruce Bochy. He went out and really early on and staked a claim that, hey, we're going to be serious about winning. When you hire Bruce Bochy, he's one of the best managers to come down this pike in the last 40, 50 years. And word is now that they intend to look at Carlos Rodon very seriously for pitching, and they got a ton of money there in Texas.
So I'm glad you brought that up, because I sent you my notes last night. As I'm about to go to sleep, I realized, oh my gosh, I didn't ask him about Bruce Bochy, and I think that that's such a big hire for the Rangers. They went out and spent over $500 million on bats for their lineup and John Gray last year, and they lost like 95 games. That's a team that they need to add pitching, they need to add bullpen help, and I think that they'll be right there. Bruce Bochy might have that Bob Melvin effect, where if they add the right players, Bruce Bochy kind of puts them over the top. This is, I feel like it maybe it got more airplay than I saw yesterday, but I feel like this is kind of like almost an under the radar thing, even though he's a huge name in the game of baseball.
Well, it's sort of it goes under the radar. That's why baseball really doesn't like to have big hires or big acquisition announced during the World Series. Mm-hmm. This wasn't the World Series. That's why they were able to do it. But they wanted to beat their chests about it and get it done. I was very impressed how it was. He had a laser focus, Chris Young. And we always watched him for a long time as a pitcher. He wasn't the greatest pitcher in the world, but he made do and had a nice little career for a while, and made the most out of what he could be. And I got a feeling he's going to be a really good general manager. I just really do.
Stan, Bruce Bochy was a guy who was very successful in San Diego. Pretty successful as well in San Francisco. Why has he been unemployed since 2019? What are teams missing with him, and what did the Rangers see in him that they decided to bring him back? I mean, he is 67 years old now. What do they see in him? Why is he going to really change the franchise there?
Well, he's arguably really one. I mean, I love Bob Melvin. I think Bob Melvin may go down as that good a manager, But this is a guy who took the Padres to the World Series when they hadn't been in one for a long time. I forget which year that was.
98.
Probably 98. He took them to the World Series, and then when they sort of didn't produce a couple more years, they let him go. Larry Lucchino was no longer there. He was in Boston, and Lucchino was the guy that hired him, along with John Moores, in San Diego. And then he went to the Giants, and all he did was win 3 World Series. There aren't many managers. We all love Buck Showalter, and we think Dusty Baker is a great manager too. Neither one of them has won 1 World Series. This guy has won 3 of them. Yeah. He chose to leave the Giants, I think partly because he knew that they were. It was interesting because I think he knew they were stepping into some type of rebuild that he didn't want to be a part of. He wasn't hired by Farhan Zaidi. He knew the world was changing, and frankly, I'd been told that he had sort of had it with sort of all the analytics trying to come in and control things and all that. But, he's born to do this, and it's not like he sat out for 11 years. He sat out for 3 years, mostly by choice. Had he let the Phillies know that he was interested in managing, he would have had a job in a minute. I'm sure Mark Shapiro 2 years ago would have hired him over Charlie Montoya, but he basically sent out the message, I'm interested in just being retired for a little bit. He missed it. He's got a lot of money he can still make, and he's got a lot more to give back to this game. He's a terrific guy.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a good
terrific manager. Yeah,
I think that the Rangers become contenders at this point, just because you don't hire that guy if you don't plan on making your entire team better. In my opinion, and I don't think he's signing on. To manage. I don't think he's signing on to manage a team at this age that isn't intending to win and win big.
Yeah, he had conversations over a brief time with. First of all, the first phone call, he said, "Yeah, I'd be interested in talking to you." And then Chris Young did a sell job on him about what they got to do and what my plans are and all this. And I'm sure Bruce Bochy said, "Can I bring in some of my people?" You watch who his bench coaches, you watch who his pitching coaches, who his hitting coaches. They're going to be really top tier coaching on that team. That's no knock at Chris Woodward or anything like that. Chris, by all intents and purposes, a really solid baseball guy. But this is a Michelangelo type of hire.
Yeah, I agree. I'm very interested. I've never been a big Rangers fan, to be perfectly honest with you, but I think that any time that a team can make especially the AL West stronger and really contend with the Astros. It's not that I have anything against the Astros. They tend to run away with that division. I think having a three-headed race in that division now is just better for baseball. So I'm interested to see how things go down this offseason and what that division looks like in 2023.
Yep.
Now, Stan, we don't really have time to get to this Orioles offseason outlook, so we're going to push that till next week. But before we let you go, what do you have coming up for us this week?
Don't have anything lined up yet on my two shows. Got to talk to Ross Grimsley. We'll come up with something for Monday night. Could be a roundtable with Luke Jackson, myself, and Ross. Sort of a status of the playoffs as we sit and talk on Monday night. Thursday, I'm working on something more football related, and we'll be doing those Zooms, and I'll be in with Glenn. I'll be writing a couple columns during the week, so another busy week of sports content for me. Heading out to Maryland this afternoon with Luke to see the Maryland Terrapins take on the Northwestern Wildcats. That's 3:30.
Should be a fun day for you, and we look forward to all the content you got coming out. Stan, we will talk to you and hopefully get to talk a little bit about some Orioles baseball next weekend. All right.
All right. Yep. Sounds good.
All right. See you. Bye. Bye. And that was Stan the Fan Charles checking in with us for his weekly segment. Stan has two great shows for you every week. Every Monday night, Stan and former Orioles pitcher Ross Grimsley visit with a different guest from the world of baseball. And every Thursday night, Stan and Gary Stein chat with a different newsmaker from the world of sports. This week, Stan and Ross were joined by the legendary Boog Powell. Plus, Stan and Gary had a fascinating chat with Charles Kifkart, CEO of Baltimore-based African Diaspora Maritime, as they work to launch the first predominantly black team in America's Cup history. Can't believe I got through that. Find these shows under the videos tab at facebook.com/PressBoxSports or at PressBoxOnline.com/video. As Stan said, he and Ross are back on Monday with another great show that he might be doing a baseball roundtable with Luke Jackson. You were here for a 3-hour show last week, everybody, if you tuned in, where we had a 2-hour roundtable with Luke and Ryan Blake, and that was so much fun. So if they're going to do that with Luke on Monday, that's something you're going to want to tune into. You're going to want to tune into it anyway because Stan's great. He's been doing this a long time, and he's very skilled. So tune in for that. Before we catch a break, we're going to push sounding off because I want to give it more time than what we have right now. Something I didn't get a chance to ask Stan, and I want to ask you. People have been bitching about the playoff format, and
me included.
Why?
I had the problem with the wild card round. That was it.
I don't understand that. Okay, because it used to be one game. Mm-hmm. Now it's 3. You have a series. Okay, the Mets won 101 games. They stumbled down the stretch. They blew it against the Braves. They lost a 3-game series, and they didn't even put their best foot forward that third game. They got smoked.
I agree.
That third game. What's the issue?
My issue with it, and what I did sounding off on that week, was about teams who win their division being forced to play in a wild card series. That was my problem with it. I think that the 3-game series is the way to go because one game, and my argument was that one game is ridiculous. When you're playing 162 games and you're qualifying for the playoffs and you're losing it all in one game, I don't think that's how baseball's a game of series.
Everybody agrees with that, and that's why there's a 3-game series.
So that was my one problem with it in the past, but now they fixed that. But now, with the way they're doing this, and they've added a third wild card team, they've made it so that you have to include division winners in the wild card series. And I'm just not a big fan of that. I think we should go back to 2 wild card teams because I think division winners should have the right to have the bye like they have in the previous years. I think that's a lot smarter. I think that makes a lot of sense. I don't think the Guardians and the Cardinals should have had to, after winning well over 90 games, had to go out there and play teams who didn't win their division. I don't think that's fair.
Okay. And you did say that. You did say that on Sounding Off. I've also seen arguments that you shouldn't have to wait 5 days to play. Once your season ends, if you get, and Buster Olney, and as much as people hate him, he put out there that maybe they should give the teams they should give the 1 and 2 seed the choice.
Yeah,
but everybody's going to choose the bye. Nobody wants to see their season end in a wild card series.
Yeah.
Right? So they're going to choose the bye regardless. Really, the only solution here, in your mind, then, would be to go back to 6 teams. But they're not going to do that because that means less money.
Yes.
Right? So, to me, you didn't have one of the top 2 records in baseball. That's. I mean, you look at the Mets. They did. They won 101 games. They had the second best record in the National League. Mm-hmm. But they got swept by the Braves, who also had 101 wins. They got swept by the Braves in the final weekend of the season.
Yeah.
That's your fault that you couldn't manage to win 1 game. Mm-hmm. You couldn't win. You win 1 game in that series, and you win a division, and you got swept.
Yeah.
That's your fault. That's why you're now a wild card team. To me, win enough that you're a 1 or 2 seed. Otherwise, now you have to play in that wild card series. Now you don't get the option. But you get 3 games at home. So people are just never going to be happy.
No.
People are never going to be happy because they watched their team, they invested their heart and soul into their team for 6 months and watched them win over 100 games, be one of the best teams in baseball, and then they're home 3 days later. Mm-hmm. And that sucks for them. Sucks to suck. Sorry. Like, you had a 3-game series. You had a 5-game series and division series. You had your opportunity. All you had to do was be the team that you think that you are. All you had to do was win 2 games, and you couldn't do it.
Yeah.
These complaints to me, they fall on deaf ears for me. They just if you want to win a World Series, if you want to get to the next round, win.
Yeah, I mean,
you're in the playoffs because you won.
When it comes to the Mets specifically, I'm not going to feel upset over a team who didn't win their division being in the wild card series and losing. It's not, that's what happens, right? I mean, sure, they won 101 games, but frankly, I guess the Braves were a little better in the end, and that's just how it happens. It was just the division winners for me. That's where I drew the criticism of it, and I don't necessarily have a problem with the Mets situation or any situation like the Blue Jays or the Rays were also wild card teams who were good teams as well. I don't know if we want to call the Rays as good as the Mets because they won 86 games compared to 101, but you get my point here. I don't really feel bad for those teams. I don't have any empathy for those teams because they didn't win the division. That's what happens.
All right, but then you feel bad for the teams that did win the division but didn't win the games that they needed to win.
That's getting complicated, but
it's not complicated. You feel bad. You don't feel bad for this team because they didn't win enough to get in, or to get that to be a division winner.
Oh, I get what you're saying.
But then the teams that won enough to be a division winner, they didn't win the games they needed to win to get to the next round, even though they had all 3 of those games at home.
I think that's looking at it maybe a little too deep, but I guess that is the argument I'm making.
Yeah, to me, it's at the end of the day, if you want to advance, you got to win.
You just got to win, yeah.
And you didn't win. And maybe you didn't get a bye, but you got every game at home, and you didn't win.
Yeah, I mean,
but the Guardians did win.
They did.
The Guardians did win,
and
then they lost in a series. But the Cardinals, they had 2 home games.
Yeah,
and they lost both of them.
Yeah.
So, And they had a 2-0 lead in the ninth inning in the first game, and they gave up 6 runs.
Cardinals and the Rays looked like the weakest teams in the playoffs this year. They look by far the weakest.
Yeah. No, I agree with you on that. Look, crap. We got to catch a break. When we come back, first off, I want to remind you that today's show, the first hour of today's show, is brought to you by the Toyota Tacoma, which comes in a range of models and trim lines. You can choose the perfect Tacoma to reflect your unique personality and driving habits. Go to check out buyatoyota.com for deals on new Tacomas from your local Toyota dealer today. When we come back from the Fox Sports San Diego Network, you're going to have Tony Gwynn Jr. to talk about the Padres, their season, the postseason, and what's next. That next on the Bat Around.
Glory Days Grill's Oktoberfest menu is now running. It's one of their most popular seasonal menus all year. It features the chicken schnitzel, the Oktoberfest brewer's platter, the brewer's sausage sandwich, the Bavarian burger with a pretzel bun, the cheddar ale soup, the slam dunk pretzels, and the apple cobbler. All of these meals pair well with Oktoberfest beers and Angry Orchard on draft. Dine in or order online at glorydaysgrill.com and pick up your favorites to take home. Glory Days Grill, great food, good sports.
What's up, everyone? This is Tyus Bowser, and I'm excited to tell you that I'm back for Season 2 of the Tyus Bowser Show in partnership with Pressbox and Great H Memorabilia. Join us on Tuesday nights throughout the season as I'll be heading all over town with my special guests. And of course, our co-hosts, Glenn and Rita. Or is it Rita and Glenn? What is it? I look forward to meeting you guys and talking a little bit about football and a lot about life. And if you happen to miss the show, you can now catch a replay Friday nights on 105.7 The Fan. Get all of your details for the Tyus Bowser Show right now at pressboxonline.com/Bowser.
The next Tyus Bowser Show is Tuesday, November 1st at the Hamilton Sports Bar and Grill, 5506 Hartford Road. It's brought to you by Maryland Vascular Specialists and the all-new Ginsu Kamado Grill.
That first sip. That first bite. Start your day off right with a delicious breakfast at Royal Farms. Choose from a fantastic selection of fresh Royal Farms breakfast sandwiches and top it off with a rich hot cup of the freshest coffee in the world. At Royal Farms, breakfast is available day and night. It's the freshest breakfast in the world. Real fresh, real fast. Royal Farms.
Come experience Maryland's #1 sportsbook this NFL season at the FanDuel Sportsbook at Live Casino and Hotel, the ultimate place for any sports enthusiast. Take advantage of our 24/7 kiosks, massive video screens, and watch all the action from the best seat in the house. With more money paid out than anyone around, make every moment more at the new FanDuel Sportsbook at Live Casino and Hotel in Hanover, Maryland. Please play responsibly. Gambling problem? Please call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit mdgamblinghelp.org.
The Baltimore County Police Department is hiring. Entry-level officers start at close to $59,000 a year with a $10,000 bonus. Some restrictions apply. Plus a great retirement plan, medical, dental, and vision insurance, advancement to specialized units, tuition reimbursement, 15 sick days earned per calendar year, and even further incentives for military members and veterans. If you have a passion for service and want a career for life, visit joinbaltimorecountypd.com or call 410-887-5542. You must be a United States citizen, possess a valid driver's license, and have a high school diploma or GED equivalent. The Baltimore County Police Department is an equal opportunity employer.
Stan the Fan here, welcoming back one of my favorite sponsors, the Costas Inn. And everybody around Baltimore knows the Costas Inn is a great place to go and grab crabs, steaks, salads, soups, whatever's on your mind to eat in person. But did you know that the Costas Inn has upped their game? They are now one of the premier takeout places in Baltimore. Give them a call now to order your food, 410-477-1975. That's the Costas Inn over 4100 North Point Boulevard.
Experience the best in Kamado Grilling, a complete outdoor cooking appliance. The Ginsu Kamado Grill allows anyone to sear, grill, bake, and smoke all types of food. Designed for efficiency and function, the Ginsu Kamado Grill upholds the enduring legacy of the iconic Ginsu brand. The Ginsu Kamado Grill is perfect to cook all year round, is great for parties, and ideal for tailgating with your friends. Reserve your Ginsu Kamado Grill today at ginsugrills.com and get $100 off on your pre-order when you use the promo code TAILGATE. That's ginsugrills.com. Reserve yours today.
Have you been to Guilford Hall Brewery? Located in Baltimore Station North neighborhood, Guilford Hall Brewery breaks the craft brew mold with their great handcrafted microbrews and amazing Bavarian-style food selections. Join Guilford Hall 7 days a week for Orioles, Ravens, and all of your favorite college games. Make plans now to watch the big games, play trivia, or bring your dog for Yappy Hour. They even have free valet service on Friday and Saturday nights. Go to guilfordhall.com for a complete schedule of events, beer listings, and food and drink specials. That's Guilford Hall Brewery at 1611 Guilford Avenue in Station North. Joining us now on the Bat Around, we talked to him, I think it was around this time, maybe it was in 2020. We talked to him in 2020, and he's back now with the Padres back in the playoffs. From Fox Sports San Diego, he is Tony Gwynn Jr., and he's live now on the Bat Around. Tony, it's Paul, it's Zach. Good morning. Thanks for taking some time for us today.
No problem, fellas. How you guys doing?
We're doing well, doing well. We like seeing the Padres in the postseason. We love Manny Machado around here. Most of us love Manny Machado around these parts. For the Padres, they're in the NLCS for the first time since 1998 and just the third time in franchise history. San Diego has no professional sports championships unless you count the 1963 AFL championship. How much would a World Series appearance mean to this city, and does it matter if they get there but don't win at all?
Oh man, it will mean a great deal regardless. Honestly, whether they win or not, a championship would set San Diego over the top. Though I mean, as you said, they've never experienced a championship, and this team has come with a lot of expectations, and to finally reach it, I think, would be really, really epic for the city of San Diego. However, the fact that they have gotten there despite some of the gut punches they've had to face this year would certainly make it worth the while to get to a World Series as well.
You mentioned the gut punch, and the biggest gut punch was first a motorcycle incident with Fernando Tatis, and then as he's preparing to come back, gets popped for the PEDs. He gets suspended for the rest of the season. So you have no Fernando Tatis. You acquire Juan Soto, Josh Bell, Brandon Drury, and Josh Hader. They all struggled after being acquired at the deadline. Yet this team's 3 wins away from the World Series. How big of a difference does Bob Melvin make for this team?
I can't. No, I don't even know if I can quantify how big a difference he makes. Just based off of his steadiness, right? He didn't blink when the motorcycle happened. Happened, and you get to spring training and you find out he's going to miss the first half of the season. He didn't blink, and he kept those guys on task. He kept those guys focused on the task at hand. And when they got the second gut punch, he did the same thing. He didn't blink, and I think this team has really taken on his mindset, his character, and it's a big reason why they've been able to weather those slumps that you talk about, because there's been multiple over the course of the season. They've been able to weather it, and here we are, as you said, 3 wins away from possibly getting to a World Series.
Now, another reason, Tony, that they've been able to weather that storm is because Manny Machado played out of his mind this year. Yeah. Even after it looked like a severe ankle injury, he doesn't even go on the IL. He comes back. He's still Manny Machado. Maybe a little bit of a struggle off the bat there, but he's going to finish top 2 for the NL MVP along with Paul Goldschmidt. We have to imagine that's going to be the case. The argument can be made that Manny just carried this team all season. Is Manny your MVP?
Yes, I think he is. As you said, I mean, this is the best version of Manny Machado the Padres have had. And he has – it's not only what he's done on the field, but he's also grown into the leadership role that I don't know at the age of 26 when he first signed the deal, he was fully – equipped to be able to handle it. But certainly he's grown into that role. He's been a big-time leader in that clubhouse. And then what he's done on the field, as I said, this is one of the best years he's put up in his career. And so when you count all those things, at least in my opinion, he is my MVP.
And I'll tell you, man, watching Manny Machado is probably my favorite player in the game, and it broke my heart when he left Baltimore. I thought that was one of the biggest mistakes the franchise has ever done, not retaining him and building around him. But I watched that dude, even at 24, 25 years old, when he needed to, he put the team on his back. He would put the team on his back and be like, all right, hop on, I'm going to lead us. He had Adam Jones to do that too, but there were just some big games where he would come through in the clutch. How much of that clutch gene has Manny been able to show? I legitimately 100% believe when he came up the other night, he was hitting that game-winning 3-run homer. He ended up flying out to right. In my mind, he was doing it.
I mean, he showed it on a number of occasions this year. And, the thing that separates Manny, especially in today's league, is his ability to get to high velocity. There are so many of those arms that he has to deal with that he just doesn't struggle with those type of arms. And when he gets into those situations, especially in the playoffs, you just see a different level of focus, if that's even possible, right? And so, I mean, he's been able to show that on a number of occasions. He is the type of player that, as you said, when he comes up to the plate late in the game in a big situation, you feel pretty confident he's going to come through.
Now, he was kind of put in that situation. We were alluding to it. We were talking about it before with Fernando Tatis. He was put in that situation because of the errors of Tatis in his judgment. How difficult is it going to be for Fernando to rebuild his reputation in the game and then also regain the trust of his teammates, and have steps already been made towards regaining that trust in that clubhouse?
I guess multiple things can be true on that front at once, right? Like, it could be tough. It's going to be tough for him to do all of those things. You can't get his teammates' trust back, to be able to, build his reputation. But it can be done. We've seen it done. I think it's really going to be left up to Fernando and how he handles decision-making moving forward. Everything is going to be under a magnifying glass. Everybody's going to be watching his every move. And so I have no doubt that he can repair it and gain the trust of his teammates again. But it's going to take some work, and it won't be easy, and it won't be quick.
Right. No, it's going to take some time. And he, first and foremost, though, what you do on the field has a lot to do with getting that trust back, getting that reputation back. And if Fernando Tatis can come out and be Fernando Tatis again, and then you pair him with Manny and with Juan Soto, who's still under team control, suddenly that team is really they're World Series contenders now, but suddenly they might be one of the best offenses in all of baseball. How much are you looking forward to seeing this team at full strength? I know we still got this season, and there's still a huge opportunity to go out and win a championship, but there could be multiple championships, and how exciting is that for you?
I'm super excited. As a guy who gets to cover them on a daily basis, it's pretty awesome to think about. And, I'm looking forward to, obviously getting Fernando back and hoping that he's, gets back to his normal self in terms of what he does on the field. I'm also looking forward to Juan Soto getting an offseason to kind of attack some of the things he's had. I mean, you look at him, he's such a generational player that, you look at the 240 average, that's not him. And so it's clearly something that's probably gone awry in what he's trying to do on a daily basis. I look at getting that Juan Soto back to go to pair with a Manny Machado and in that lineup. And man, Padre fans have a lot to be happy about. Looking forward to what they have with this ball club.
Now, I'm wondering, you see all these guys, all these young guys signing huge extensions very early in their career. And then you see Juan Soto, who's been one of the best players in the game since he was 20 years old. He won a World Series and wasn't even allowed to drink the champagne. We say he didn't drink the champagne at the World Series celebration. Maybe off camera there was some imbibing going on. But he's watching all these other guys sign big contracts, and he's like, you know what? I'm better than they are. Where's my contract? Right? So now he's maybe pressing, and he's still getting on base at near a 400 clip, but he's hitting, like you said, 240. He made $17.1 million in arbitration this season, do another big raise. Is an extension likely for Soto there in San Diego. I know they got the big contracts with Tatis and Machado. If they extend him, I think that goes a long way towards him getting back to being that guy that's going to hit 300 for you.
Yeah, maybe so. I think, I feel like it has less to do with that, considering he has chosen the path that he's on, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I think in terms of an extension for the Padres, I'm sure it's something they want to entertain. The beautiful thing about that acquisition is that you still have him under team control. So there's no rush
Sure.
to get to an extension at this point. You can kind of see how the chips fall with these guys in the lineup together. And so, you're going to have basically 2 years where you're not having to pay an absorbent amount with some really talented, with a really talented player.
Mm-hmm. Now, talking a lot about the future, a lot about what next year and the years after they're going to look like. But right now, Padres are in the are in a World Series chase. They're down 2-1 with the Phillies. It seems like these are teams that are kind of just exchanging blows, and this could come down to the wire. The Phillies, though, they're pitching their butts off. They're hitting timely home runs.
Yeah.
Segura with that big hit in the 4th inning. What do the Padres need to do to combat that today and then move forward and get this series?
Listen, I've always felt like, you're going to have to pitch to beat this Phillies team, and if you're not going to pitch, the offense is going to have to tick up. And the first game for the Padres, the second game, they didn't get that type of start. And Joe was not bad yesterday by any means. I thought he pitched well, but the Phillies were just a titch better in last night's ball game. And so again, the Padres are at their best when they're getting great starts, and they got that in Game 1. Not so much in Game 2. Game 3, I think the Phillies just outdueled them. As you said, it was just blow after blow. These teams are so evenly matched that you just have a sense that it can go. This series can go deep. But I think the Padres are going to have to put some runs on the board in today's game if they want to get this Game 4.
Now, they got Mike Clevenger on the hill for them tonight. Now, he's kind of been a little bit limited with his innings. Are they hoping to get 5 out of him? Is this an opportunity? Could he go 6, maybe get a little bit deeper for them? Or is this going to be one of those games where they got to get hot offensively off the bat, or it could be a long day for them?
Listen, Clev is good enough to where he can get you 6 if he's right, based on the last few starts. And remember, he's a year removed from Tommy John.
Right.
He's, so you often see guys kind of have this inconsistency in terms of how deep they're getting, but he's certainly good enough to get 6. I think the Padres would be thrilled if they got 5 from him tonight, and it's tonight's ball game. So that is the plan. The Phillies will probably be going with a guy who they would love to get 5 from too, and so from that standpoint, that's why I say you're going to have to score some runs probably in tonight's ball game.
Yeah, absolutely. But look, if the Padres find a way to get this game today, they got Darvish going tomorrow, and then you're probably looking at Snell, I would imagine, on Monday. And now you're looking at an opportunity down 2-1. Maybe by Monday night, you've got this series under your belt, and you're celebrating a World Series. So this could be a big swing game for the Padres if they somehow manage to figure out how to win the game tonight.
No doubt.
Tony, great talking with you. We certainly appreciate your time. I know you're a busy man, so we won't keep you. What can we plug for you before we let you go?
Listen, you can listen to me on the Odyssey app on Gwynn and Chris Monday through Friday from 2 to 6, and you can always catch me doing the broadcast for these Padre games on the radio.
Well, we look forward to it. Best of luck to you, and hopefully the next time we talk to you, we're talking about a Padres World Series victory.
Indeed. Thanks for having me.
All right, man. Take it easy. And that was Tony Gwynn Jr., kind enough to join us, take some time out of his busy schedule. He is on the East Coast right now because they're playing in Philly. So when I asked him, I was nervous. I was like, man, that's going to be super early for him. I'm like, wait a second, they're in Philly. This should be no problem at all. So we had him on a couple of years ago. Always a great interview. So thank you very much to Tony Gwynn Jr. for taking time to talk with us today. I just want to remind you that segment was brought to you by the all-new Ginsu Kamado Grill, which is coming soon. It is the perfect ceramic tailgate, or home grill to sear, grill, bake, and smoke all kinds of food. Get the details and reserve yours today at ginsugrills.com and use the code TAILGATE to get $100 off your order. Come get a sample of the cooking from the Ginsu Kamado Grill tomorrow and before every Ravens home game this season at the Game Day Firehouse, located at the Firefighters Union Hall just west of the stadium at 1202 Ridgely Street. You can stop by, try some food, and enter to win a Ginsu Kamado ceramic grill and $500 worth of grilling meats. So make sure you get down to the Game Day Firehouse at Firefighters Union Hall tomorrow to check out the Ginsu Kamado Grill. We're going to catch our next break. When we come back in, we're going to talk a little bit more about that Phillies-Padres series. We're going to talk about some betting lines for you, and then we're going to get into Orioles banter. That and more next on the Bat Around.
The latest edition of Press Box is available now. On the cover, New Maryland basketball coach Kevin Willard sits down with Stan Charles and Glenn Clark to discuss the situation he inherited in College Park and how he plans to get the program turned around. Also, inside, we introduce you to men's and women's college basketball players from all of the teams in the area. And Bo Smoka profiles Ravens receiver Devin Duvernay. Press Box is available for free at over 500 area locations, including 60 Royal Farm stores, and you can always find the entire edition as well as the best daily coverage of the Orioles, Ravens, and Terps at PressBoxOnline.com.
Have you been to Guilford Hall Brewery? Located in Baltimore's Station North neighborhood, Guilford Hall Brewery breaks the craft brew mold with their great handcrafted microbrews and amazing Bavarian-style food selections. Join Guilford Hall 7 days a week for Orioles, Ravens, and all of your favorite college games. Make plans now to watch the big games, play trivia, or bring your dog for Yappy Hour. They even have free valet service on Friday and Saturday nights. Go to guilfordhall.com for a complete schedule of events, beer listings, and food and drink specials. We'll see you at Guilford Hall Brewery.
Make the most out of every day in your Toyota RAV4. Available in hybrid or gas-only models. A RAV4 can get you where you want to go in style. Check out buyatoyota.com for deals on new RAV4s from your local Toyota dealer today.
Stan the Fan here, welcoming back one of my favorite sponsors, the Costas Inn. And everybody around Baltimore knows the Costas Inn is a great place to go and grab crabs, steaks, salads, soups, whatever's on your mind to eat in person. But did you know that the Costas Inn has upped their game? They are now one of the premier takeout places in Baltimore. Give them a call now to order your food, 410-477-1975. That's the Costas Inn, over 4100 North Point Boulevard.
The Baltimore County Police Department is hiring. Entry-level officers start at close to $59,000 a year with a $10,000 bonus. Some restrictions apply. Plus a great retirement plan, medical, dental, and vision insurance, advancement to specialized units, tuition reimbursement, 15 sick days earned per calendar year, and even further incentives for military members and veterans. If you have a passion for service and want a career for life, visit joinbaltimorecountypd.com or call 410-887-5542. You must be a United States citizen, possess a valid driver's license, and have a high school diploma or GED equivalent. The Baltimore County Police Department is an equal opportunity employer.
Sports betting has come to Maryland, and we're ready to help you win some money. Tune in for Simply the Bets every Tuesday morning at 11 Fort. FanDuel Sportsbook Assistant GM Leon Twyman and VSiN's Aaron Oster join the guys every week to give you all of the info you need and offer you a few winners. And every other Thursday at 11:40, tune in for Weekend at Bookies as Andrew Stecca and Alloy Sports' Brad Kronthal help make you some money for the weekend. So come win some money with us on Simply the Bets every Tuesday and Weekend at Bookies every other Thursday. Brought to you by the FanDuel Sportsbook at Live Casino and Hotel Maryland. Listen at PressBoxOnline.com/radio. Watch at YouTube.com/PressBoxOnline.
Experience the best in Kamado Grilling, a complete outdoor cooking appliance. The Ginsu Kamado Grill allows anyone to sear, grill, bake, and smoke all types of food. Designed for efficiency and function, the Ginsu Kamado Grill upholds the enduring legacy of the iconic Ginsu brand. The Ginsu Kamado Grill is perfect to cook all year round, is great for parties, and ideal for tailgating with your friends. Reserve your Ginsu Kamado Grill today at ginsugrills.com and get $100 off on your pre-order when you use the promo code TAILGATE. That's ginsugrills.com. Reserve yours today.
All right, welcome back to the Bat Around. Coming to you live from the Press Box Studios here in Towson, Maryland. Just want to remind you the latest edition of Press Box is available now. On the cover, new Maryland basketball coach Kevin Willard sits down with Stan the Fan Charles and Glenn Clark to discuss the situation he inherited in College Park and how he plans to get the program turned around. Also inside, we introduce you to men's and women's college basketball players from all the teams in the area, and both smoke profiles Ravens receiver Devin Duvernay. Press Box is available for free at over 500 area locations, including 60 Royal Farm stores, and you can always find the entire edition as well as the best daily coverage of the Orioles, Ravens, and Terps at PressBoxOnline.com. Zach kindly reminded me that we have not done sounding off yet, and let's get to it. Zach, what do you have for us today?
I want to talk about gold gloves, and I want to pose this as more of a discussion between us two about whether they really matter, because
they don't.
They don't, and I agree with that. But let me state my case first, and let me explain why I think they're one of the most worthless awards, is the way I'll put it. Because Rawlings announced, they do the Gold Glove every year. They announced their Gold Glove finalists for every position. 2 Orioles were included. Cedric Mullins is a finalist for center field, and Ramon Arias is a finalist for third base. Interesting choice on Ramon Arias. He was a good fielder this year, but
he was the best defensive third baseman in the American League.
I don't
think he played enough.
Okay, that's fair.
Fair. If you look at his defensive metrics, he was the best defensive third baseman in the American League this year.
So people were up in arms. I don't know if you saw this, but it was pretty evident on Orioles Twitter that people were not happy about Jorge Mateo being excluded from the shortstop position. Xander Bogaerts, Carlos Correa, and Jeremy Pena are the 3 guys that were finalists for the award. And look, Jorge Mateo is a better fielder than the 3 of those guys. He did. If you look at the stats, if you look at the numbers,
he
outs
blows
above
them
average,
all out of the water.
Defensive
in
runs
every
saved,
metric.
in every metric, he blows them all out of the water. But Gold Gloves are a popularity contest.
Mm-hmm.
And that's basically all they are. We talk about all-star voting. I've said it before with that, too. It's a popularity contest. You're picking the guy who is on your favorite team. Carlos Correa is a big name. Xander Bogaerts is a big name. And Jeremy Pena plays for one of the biggest market teams with the most fans in all of baseball. This is a popularity contest. If you're shocked or surprised that Jorge Mateo is not included as a shortstop finalist, you shouldn't be, because that's just simply the way it goes. And Orioles are always going to be, because Baltimore is a generally smaller market than the New Yorks or the Bostons of the world. Baltimore is always going to be excluded from these kind of things because they don't win the popular vote. That's always the way it is. And Gold Gloves are something that you're never going to remember. You're going to look 3 years down the road and you're going to say, oh, Jorge Mateo didn't win a Gold Glove in 2022. Whatever. It doesn't matter. People are really upset. And I'm just here to tell you it doesn't really matter, because it's not like these front offices either are going out and saying, Jorge Mateo won a Gold Glove in 2022. That's why we should take him. No, they're looking at the defensive run save metrics, the outs above average metrics. They're looking at the tape. They're looking at their scouting reports of what he can do as a defender, not if he won a Gold Glove or not. It's great because guys like Brooks Robinson, I mean, you look at the picture he has with his, 16 or so Gold Gloves. I mean, the guy won an incredible amount. And stuff like that's cool, sure. But more or less, it's a trophy that doesn't mean anything to any front offices. Don't get upset over it. They don't matter.
They don't.
They don't matter.
They don't. Now, look, the Orioles, there were times when they had 3, 4 guys who were finalists for Gold Gloves. Their teams were in the playoffs that year. Yeah. Right? And those guys also happened to be all-stars. Now, Derek Jeter won 5 Gold Gloves.
And statistically, the worst defensive shortstop in the history of baseball.
Yeah. The worst defensive shortstop in the history of baseball. He won 5 Gold Gloves. Do you think it's because he was a great defender, or do you think it's because he was Derek Jeter?
He was a Yankee, and he was Derek Jeter.
Right.
And that's why he won 5. Yeah,
exactly.
One other thing about this, by the way, I just want to bring up real quick, is that Dalton Varsho is a right field finalist in the National League, but also a utility finalist for a Gold Glove. So he could potentially win 2 Gold Gloves.
That's crazy.
That's crazy. It makes no sense.
Now, look, there's some guys who will win the Gold Glove because they are 100% deserving. Manny Machado is a guy who won a Gold Glove and then a Platinum Glove, and he's deserving. Brooks Robinson, deserving. Greg Maddux, I think he won like 15. Deserving, right? Ken Griffey Jr., deserving. Derek Jeter, not deserving of a Gold Glove. He's Derek Jeter. He won. Jorge Mateo was the best defensive shortstop, not just in the American League, but in all of baseball this year. Not even a finalist. because he hit 221 with a 267
and
on
he's
base
a Baltimore
percentage.
Oriole.
And I don't even think it matters that he's a Baltimore Oriole. That has something to do with it, but his team didn't make the playoffs.
Yeah.
Right? They won 83 games, but if Jorge Mateo was an all-star this year and he hit 260 with a 345 on base percentage, he would have won a goal. He'd be a Gold Glove finalist. Ryan Mountcastle, not even a finalist at first base, and he's equal to or better than all the finalists in almost every defensive metric.
Yeah.
And he's not a finalist. It's when the Orioles start winning, and they're winning now, right? But when the Orioles start getting to the playoffs and becoming prominent in pennant chases, that's when you're going to start seeing them win some Gold Gloves. And you may see some guys be finalists for them that really shouldn't be, right? And to be on a team like the Orioles and be a Gold Glove finalist, you have to really stand out.
Yeah.
Ramon Urias really stood out. Cedric Mullins really stood out, but he doesn't have the arm. I don't think Mullins is going to win. I think Urias was so far and away better than all the other third basemen. If you look at he is so much better than all the other third basemen in his defensive metrics. If he doesn't win, that's going to be a shocker for me.
So I got to find out who the other third base candidates are. Let me pull this up here real quick. It is Matt Chapman and Jose Ramirez, two very, very excellent defenders.
Right, but I think if you look at like defensive runs saved, Ramon Urias had like 7.
Yeah.
And Jose Ramirez was second with 1.
I think Mateo had 14.
He had 14 defensive runs saved, and the guy who was in second place had like 3.
Yeah.
Right. And Mateo is the biggest omission because it's not even close how superior of a defender he was compared to everybody else.
And the front office, they're going to notice that. Mike Elias is going to say, and basically every other front office in the league is going to notice that. They're going to look at the metrics. They're not going to look at whether Jorge Mateo won a Gold Glove.
Right.
I mean, again, Dalton Varsho could potentially win 2. That should tell you everything you need to know.
He's not going to. If he wins one, he won't win the other.
Won't.
But he'll probably win one.
But he's a finalist for both, which is still weird.
It's nuts to me. Very good. Very good. Mike Bordick, for example, made one error between 2000 and 2001. Mm-hmm. He holds the all-time Major League record for consecutive chances at shortstop without an error. He has 0 Gold Gloves on his mantle. Yeah. So, to me, it's...
Because Mike Bordick was a light hitter. And that's simply
and
what
the
it
thing
is.
He was a light hitter for that era.
Yeah.
But Mike Bordick was like a 260 to 270 hitter
Right.
who routinely hit between 13 and 20 home runs.
Yeah.
Drove in 70
Great player.
And a great defender. And I totally just undervalued him when he was here because it was an era where you're watching shortstops hit 45 home runs, bat 320, and he hit 270 with 15 home runs and played the best defense in the American
Sure, I mean,
League.
you have the A-Rods of the world and Tejadas of the world. Those guys are putting up ridiculous numbers. You're forgetting about the glove first, really sound shortstop.
If Jorge Mateo this year put up Mike Bordick career average numbers, we'd be jumping up and down.
Yeah.
We would be jumping up and down and saying that he's the best shortstop in the league, right? Yeah. And that's how undervalued the type of player that Mike Bordick was back then, and how, just shows you how much baseball has changed and evolved over the last few decades. Good stuff. The payoff pitch around the league doesn't really exist. There was one game last night. It was Phillies, Padres. Kyle Schwarber hit a leadoff home run, and Gene Segura came through with a 2-out, 2-run single in the 4th inning as the Phillies held off the Padres 4-2 to take a 2-1 series advantage. Did you write out a preview for the games today?
I actually did not because I didn't. But I'm going to tell you right now who's playing tonight. So we have Christian Javier and Garrett Cole facing off Astros and Yankees. 5:07 at Yankee Stadium. That's Game 3. Yankees are down 2-0 to the Astros at the moment. Padres and Phillies. Mike Clevenger takes on Bailey Falter, who's been he had a very underrated regular season. 7:45 in Philly. Padres and the Phillies. Phillies have a 2-1 lead in the series.
Zach's going to read our FanDuel Sportsbook and Live Casino and Hotel read while I find out some... we want to wait till the last possible moment for the better round. The better round is brought to you by the FanDuel Sportsbook and Live Casino and Hotel. So Zach's going to do that because we want to give you the best, the most up to moment odds for these games. So, Zach, go ahead.
Come experience Maryland's #1 sportsbook this NFL season at the FanDuel Sportsbook at Live Casino and Hotel, the ultimate place for any sports enthusiast. Take advantage of our 24/7 kiosks, massive video screens, and watch all the action from the best seat in the house. With more money paid out to than anyone around, make every moment more at the new FanDuel Sportsbook at Live Casino and Hotel in Hanover, Maryland.
All right, very good, Zach. Thank you so much. We've got 2 games on tap today, as Zach just told us. At 5:07, you have the Astros at the Yankees. Javier versus Garrett Cole. Astros, plus 128 on the money line. That means you have to bet $128 just to win 100. Yankees, minus 152, despite having Garrett Cole on the mound. So if you bet 100, you win $152. So the over-under is 6.5. The under is giving you a little bit better odds at minus 118. So that's where you could be putting your money on for that game today. Honestly, the Astros are favored because they're the better team.
Sure.
And they're up 2-0. Javier's a good pitcher. And they seem to have the Yankees
number.
The Yankees number. Thank you. I couldn't think of the freaking word. We're talking about numbers, and I couldn't think of the numbers. Now you can move on to the Padres and Phillies. Both of them getting negative odds on the money line. The Padres have Mike Clevenger the game starting at 7:45 today. The Phillies with it's Brandon Falter, right?
Bailey Falter.
Bailey Falter. I can't remember first names to save my life. So Mike Clevenger going up against Bailey Falter at 7:45 tonight in Philadelphia. Padres minus 104 on the money line. Phillies minus 112. The over/under is 8. The under a little bit better odds at minus 115 compared to the over at 105. I think that's a good line. I think that's a good number for the over/under because Clevenger 13.50 ERA in the postseason. He's still working his way back from Tommy John surgery, so he's not giving you a ton of innings. Going to have to get into the bullpens where both teams seem to be a little bit shaky.
Yeah.
So I think that's a good number. 8 is a good number there. Now some odds to hit a home run tonight. Aaron Judge plus 220. Bet $220 to win 100. Aaron Judge, Yordan Alvarez, best at plus 330. Those are the best odds that you're getting.
Yeah.
Or for somebody to hit a home run because it's Aaron Judge and it's Yordan Alvarez, and then you also have Giancarlo Stanton at plus 340. In the other series for the Phillies and the Padres, your odds to hit a home run, you've got Kyle Schwarber at plus 310, Bryce Harper at plus 330, and Manny Machado also plus 330, followed by Juan Soto at plus 340. Those are all good bets. Manny's been super clutch. Bryce Harper's been super clutch. Kyle Schwarber is kind of doing what Kyle Schwarber does, hitting for a little bit of a lower average, although he is 4 for 12 in this division series. Yeah. In this league championship series, he's 4 for 12 with the 2 home runs. So,
2 quick comments here. Number one, people forget how good Bailey Falter was in the regular season. He won 6 games and not a lot of starts and had a 3.86 ERA. The guy was good. And he could come out tonight and really dominate. So that would not be, betting on the Phillies here, not probably a horrible idea. And then you look at what Alex Bregman has done in his career in the postseason. He has 14 home runs in the postseason. Alex Bregman could be a good one for you guys tonight.
Yeah, that's a clutch player right there in Alex Bregman. And I'm glad you mentioned Alex Bregman because, like you said, he has the 14 home runs. He has the propensity to show up big in the playoffs. Everybody on that Astros team, whether it's,
it does. Yeah.
Going back to Springer and Correa, they had just that clutch gene, and that's what that playoff pedigree. That's what wins you championships. And you look at Alex Bregman actually plus 520 tonight to hit a home run, which makes me think that he probably doesn't fare very well against this particular pitcher.
That might make sense to me. Okay. Yeah.
So we'll see how it goes, but those are all the bets that you can – not all the bets, but a bunch of bets that if you go down to the FanDuel Sportsbook at Live Casino and Hotel Maryland, you'll be able to put some money down on these games today and hopefully win some money through them. I believe that mobile betting is imminent in this area.
Sounds like that, yeah.
It seems like it's imminent. Like we're talking next month or 2.
Yeah.
That we could have mobile betting. Still want you to go down to the FanDuel Sportsbook at Live Casino and Hotel down there in Hanover, Maryland. But if you don't have the opportunity, you can still, once mobile betting becomes legalized here, you'll be able to do it from your phone if it's more convenient. So, Orioles banter. brought to you, by the way, by the next Tyus Bowser Show, which is Tuesday, November 1st, at the Hamilton Sports Bar and Grill at 5506 Hartford Road. Tyus and a special guest will join Rita and Glenn for the show on that particular evening. This is your opportunity to meet Baltimore football stars while getting the inside scoop on the purple and black. The Tyus Bowser Show is a partnership of PressBox and Great Eights memorabilia and brought to you by Maryland Vascular Specialists and the all-new Ginsu Kamado Grill. Find out more at PressBoxOnline.com/Bowser. And if you happen to miss any Tyus Bowser Show, you can check it out Friday nights throughout the season on 105.7 The Fan. All right. Time for a little bit of Orioles banter. An article came out. MLB trade rumors, they do their offseason outlook for every team, and they finally got to the Orioles. And I found it interesting because they linked the Orioles to a bunch of different players. They didn't really link them to like the big name. They didn't link them to Aaron Judge at all or Rodon. They mentioned some of these starting pitchers, but mentioned them as probably not likely. They did link them to, or at least made the attempt to link them to the 4 big name shortstops. And again, if you're living under a rock, that would be Carlos Correa, Dansby Swanson, Xander Bogaerts, and Trey Turner. Tim Anderson could also be a free agent if he decides to opt out. But what I liked about this article, Zach, is that they basically said, like you said, grand mystery. Nobody knows.
Yeah.
Look, Mike Elias has never been a general manager before. He was behind the scenes in Houston and in St. Louis to start his career. This is his first shot at being a general manager.
Yes.
He's checked every box he said he was going to check, right?
No doubt.
So for me, there's no reason not to believe Michael. The people that think Mike Elias is a joke and they don't believe him, and he's literally done everything that he said he was going to do, right? Yeah. So at this point, why shouldn't we believe that he's going to? Because it's the Orioles, right? Why shouldn't we believe that he's going to go out and spend the money necessary to make this team a legitimate playoff and World Series contender? Because it's the Orioles, and I get that. We feel like we've been burned too many times over the last 30-plus years by this organization to believe that they're going to finally put their best foot forward to make this to get them over the top, right? I think they're going to make a big signing this offseason. I personally think that they're either getting one of those big 4 shortstops, or I think that they're getting a big top-of-the-line starter. I do believe they're bringing in a bat, and I don't think it's going to be one of those weak-hitting guys or one of those guys who's all home run and nothing else, because Mike Elias loves guys that get on base and hit for power.
I still think Jose Abreu is the guy. And he wasn't mentioned here in this article, unless I'm forgetting about it. But I didn't see him.
He wasn't mentioned in the article. I think a lot of people think he's still going to end up back with the White Sox. Luke Jackson made the interesting argument when I ran into him at the final game of the season for the Orioles that they have Gavin Sheets, they have Andrew Vaughn, they're a younger roster, and he's 36 years old, so they may want to move on from that. But then Luke kind of took a step back from that on our roundtable last Saturday, basically saying, while he would make sense for this team might not make sense for Abreu, because his power numbers were severely down this year. Despite the fact he still had over 300, still drove in a ton of runs, the power numbers weren't there this year, and now he's going to come to a ballpark that's now the hardest park to hit a ball out of the park in left field. He may not want to do that. I think he's a great fit here. I think he gives you the at-bats, the leadership, the veteran presence that you need on a team that's young and up and coming. He makes the most sense to me as far as a free agent signing. Of course, Aaron Judge makes the absolute most sense, but I don't think Aaron Judge is going to happen. But taking a step back here for a second, MLB trade rumors, they postulated that the Orioles might not be in on the 4 shortstops because of the guys that they have in their minor league system that are knocking on the door. And they mentioned Joey Ortiz, Jordan Westberg, Jackson Holliday a couple of years from now. They mentioned they didn't mention Connor Norby.
No, they did not.
But that's more. I think that's more so because he profiles as a second baseman at best, right? But they mentioned Colby Mayo.
They did.
And so they think that. See, to me, I think that's the wrong mindset. I think it's the wrong mindset to say, you know what, we have these prospects, so we're going to stick with them. Prospects are just that. They're prospects.
Well, I think it's not even really fair to mention Jackson Holliday because the kid's just was drafted. He's going to be 19 next season.
Right.
I mean, that's not look, even if he takes the Manny Machado route and he comes up at 21 years old, that's still 2 years away.
Right.
So, and I think if you're looking at a guy, specifically, let's take one of the guys they mentioned in Dansby Swanson.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think you're signing Dansby Swanson any more than, what, a 3-year deal? 4-year deal? I don't think you're going to make – there's going to be no –
he's how old is he, 27? Or is he 29?
That sounds about right.
I think
somewhere in that range.
Yeah, I think he's 29.
I don't really think any of these guys, outside of maybe the only one being Trey Turner, because I think if you sign Trey Turner, it's going to be to a more lengthy deal than the other guys, because he is the best player here, in my opinion, by far.
Yeah, he's better than all of those
He
guys.
is, and I think he would get the longest term contract if he did sign in Baltimore.
Although he's 30.
He is 30, but you could still easily give him 6 years, and I think that's an impact player for 6 years.
Yeah, I think Correa
Maybe 4 years.
Correa is going to want 10 years.
Yeah, he probably will. I don't think he'll get that, though.
Yeah.
He has Boris, so maybe I'm wrong. But I look at Dansby Swanson, and I say that out of the 4 of them is the most realistic one to me. I think Swanson is actually a really good fit because he brings not a middle-of-the-order bat, but I don't really think any of these guys are necessarily middle-of-the-order bats, but he brings a lot of versatility. He brings pretty good defensive presence. He's been around on winning teams for a while. He's a World Series championship now. I like that Dansby Swanson fit, but I don't really think that affects Jackson Holiday at all. And I don't think Mayo affects any of these guys either. He's going
to be a first baseman.
He's going to be a third at best, or probably first baseman. So
or corner outfield. That arm is so strong.
He has an incredible arm.
Yeah.
It's to be determined where he's going to play. I think. Our good friend of the show, Eric Garfield, talks about all the time. He's very high on Mayo and thinks he's going to stick at third base. Even if that happens, I don't think any of these guys affect that, to be honest. And I don't think he's part of this conversation. But certainly Jordan Westburg is the number one guy in this conversation.
I don't think that you can not sign somebody because you have unless that prospect is Wander Franco or at this point now Gunnar Henderson.
Yeah.
I don't think that and I think Gunnar's going to play third base next year. I don't think
Agreed.
that you don't sign a big-name free agent simply because of a guy who hasn't gone to the majors and done anything yet.
Yeah.
Unless they're that special of a talent. And
right.
We like Jordan Westburg. He's the Orioles minor league player of the year.
Yeah.
Is he that special of a talent that you're not signing Trey Turner?
No way.
Right?
No chance.
Is Connor Norby or Joey Ortiz that special of a talent that you're not signing Dansby Swanson? I think Dansby Swanson has New York Yankees written all over him.
Really? Okay.
I just think he's that type of player that they would like there. But I think that they would go after him. But ultimately, I think he ends up back in Atlanta.
Okay.
I think he ends up back in Atlanta. Carlos Correa also has New York Yankees written all over him. But the ties to Mike Elias, the rumors of Raul Ramos put out last year. Now everybody seems to say that those rumors by Raul weren't. There was no foundation to him.
It doesn't seem that way. I think Carlos went on a podcast himself and said there was never an offer.
So it's to me like, and maybe somebody floated that to Raul and was
that happens all the time.
And was like, hey, the Orioles are preparing an offer like this, but they never made. He also said that the Orioles were preparing an extension for Adley Rutschman.
Yes.
Right? So, and I'm not calling Raul out. Raul is a nice guy. We've had a number of conversations. He's been on the show a couple of times. I like Raul. It's just one of those things where it didn't come to fruition.
Yeah.
I don't know how likely it is that. What am I trying to say here? I do think that they're going to make a splash, right?
Yeah.
I think they're going to make a splash. I think Mike Elias he's a man of his word, and he's done everything he said he was going to do. I think they're going to make a splash. My splash, I would love for it to be Trey Turner. And Trey Turner is not a guy that you bat fourth.
Yeah.
But he's a guy that maybe you bat second or you bat first. Maybe then you move Cedric Mullins down to the nine. Let's talk about what the lineup would look like if they were to get Trey Turner, right? So Trey Turner, maybe you don't want him batting leadoff. Maybe Gunnar Henderson's your leadoff guy because he's got the speed. He bats left-handed. He gets on base, takes professional bats. So he bats first. Then you have Trey Turner batting second.
Two, yeah.
Right? So then
you probably still have Santander in the 3-hole, which is the problem, frankly.
Santander should be – I like Anthony. I like Tony Taters. And – it hurt me to my core when he liked my status about saying he's not a 3-hitter because it was basically
he does that every day.
Yeah, I know, but he's not a 3-hitter.
No,
3-hitters don't hit 240. They don't hit 240, and they get on base at a higher clip, right? He walked a career high amount of times this year, but you hit 240 and your on base percentage is what 318.
Yeah,
you that's not a 3-hitter. That's a 6-hitter. He's a 6-hitter, right? And Mountcastle's not a 4-hitter. Mountcastle's a 5-hitter. You have to find that bat to put in the middle of your order.
Yeah.
Trey Turner is nice. You have him batting first, batting second behind Gunnar Henderson, who's batting first. And then that's where you come to the problem. Because ideally, if you're not going to add that middle of the order guy, I want Rutschman batting fourth.
Yeah.
I would love to have Adley Rutschman batting fourth, but then who do you bat third? And there's not a guy on this roster that I think is a 3-hitter right now, aside from Gunnar, but Gunnar would probably be batting leadoff for you. Unless you say, you know what, we're keeping Cedric in the leadoff spot. Gunner's going to bat third behind Trey Turner and in front of Adley Rutschman, which is a good lineup. But then you have the splits with Cedric Mullins, who was not good against left-handed pitching this year. And can you trust him to get on base at a high enough clip and to hit again and to post up every game?
Right.
I think Cedric Mullins is an everyday player. Yeah. But they clearly don't think so because he was rested a lot against lefties down the stretch.
Yeah, Cedric took a really big step back from his 2021 season as far as left-handers go, and that was a problem for him, frankly. And I think the Orioles definitely can move him down the order, and he hit, even the games he did play against lefties, he hit 7th, I believe. It was 6th or 7th, so he hit down the order, and certainly if Trey Turner comes to this team, then he'll move down. I see Trey Turner as a very, very possible Mets fit. I see that as one that could be really possible. I mean, he would play unbelievably with Lindor in that infield. That makes a lot of sense to me.
Lindor's playing shortstop?
Short, correct.
So you think Turner would go to the second?
I think he could easily play second. Yeah,
I think he could easily play second. I think a lot of these guys could easily play second. Mm-hmm. Do they want to?
That's a question for him, I guess.
Are you willing to sign with a team to not be the short? Like Manny signed with the Padres and told him, okay, we knew Manny wanted to be a shortstop, and he wanted to go in as a free agent as a shortstop. But the Padres were willing to give him $300 million, and he said, okay, but he had to play third base. He said, okay, I'll play third base. Give me my money. Do these players, these big names, take the same approach, or is it, no, I want $300 million, and I want to be the guy?
Yeah, I mean, that's a good question. He did play for the Dodgers in 2021, primary as a second baseman. So that's kind of where I'm building that argument on. He did play the most games at second base for the Dodgers.
So who was playing shortstop?
That's a great question. I'm going to pull that up for you.
You got Justin Turner at third base. If Trey Turner's playing second base.
It might have been Gavin Lux. Oh, it was Corey Seager. Before Corey Seager left for the Texas Rangers.
You're talking about 2021.
21. Yes.
I'm thinking it's 2022.
Right.
So he played shortstop every day in 2022.
Yes.
He played, but he had no choice. He got traded to the Dodgers in 2021, and they already had Corey Seager. He had no choice but to play second base.
Right. I guess my point is that if he sees the Mets as a really good fit, as a team that won 101 games this year, that a team could go to the World Series because of the money they spend and the starting pitching that they have, they bring DeGrom back, they're going to be an unreal team next year. And I think Trey Turner would probably say, hey, I'll play second base because we're going to go to the World Series, right? And I don't think he has as much of that guarantee with really any of the other teams that are out there looking for a guy like that.
Now, how about the Braves? If they're losing a shortstop in Dansby Swanson, and they could, I still ultimately think that they end up signing.
I was going to say that
Dansby Swanson, but maybe they look at it and they say, we could have Dansby Swanson, or we could have Trey Turner.
Yeah, it's a big difference.
Right. And Trey Turner to me is arguably the best player in this free agent class, right?
I would agree with that for sure. Besides DeGrom.
But DeGrom can't stay healthy. He hasn't been healthy.
True.
He hasn't been fully healthy in 3 years, right? Aaron Judge was finally healthy this year, hit 62 home runs, but he's been really bad in the playoffs. And I want Aaron Judge because I think the Orioles' biggest need is middle of the order bat. It's not going to happen, but I don't think overall he's as good of a player as. Is that true though? Is that true? Because he's a good defender. He's got a cannon for an arm. He was 1 or 2 in every offensive category that matters in the American League this year. But he's 30 years old, and this is the first year he's been healthy since his rookie season.
I think Judge is a better player. I agree that Judge is the better player there. But Trey Turner is an excellent, excellent player. It is worth noting, by the way, though, that Dansby Swanson had 0.8 more WAR than Trey Turner this year.
He hit more home runs.
He did, 25.
Yeah. He hit more home runs. But Trey Turner is a guy who can hit 20 to 25 home runs.
Oh, he's unreal.
He's going to bat 300. He's going to steal 25 to 40 bags.
Yeah.
Right? And he's going to play good defense and have majestic slides into home plate. Trey Turner for me is, if they're going to sign a shortstop, that's a guy I want.
Yeah.
Now the question is, would they be willing to pony up the dough, and would he want to play here? And is Trey Turner the type of guy where a big wall out in left field scares him, or is he like? I don't look at Trey Turner and think he cares about hitting home runs. I think home runs just come for him.
No.
I think he cares more about hitting line drives all over the field.
Yeah, that's one of those guys that'll probably tell you, you don't go up there looking to hit home runs. And I don't think that's not his mindset at all. So I don't think the wall would really deter him from coming to Baltimore at all. I don't think that would be the thing.
And then you look at it, the Orioles are stockpiling left-handed hitters.
They are.
On their team. Are they going to go after a left-handed hitting bat?
It's a great question.
Andrew Benintendi's a free agent. Is Andrew Benintendi a guy that they replace Austin Hayes with?
I'd have to look up his numbers and dig into him a little more. I can do that real quick. I don't think that would be where I'd go personally. Benintendi, he's a good player. I mean, he put up 3.2 WAR this year, and he's a good contact hitter. But I think Benintendi is just a worse Colton Cowser. Personally, if Colton Cowser becomes what we think he's going to be, they already have that guy. And I've said this for a while, that I think Colton Cowser is going to play a major part on the 23 Orioles. I think he's going to have a huge significance to this team.
Well, Andrew Benintendi, he's a lifetime 279 hitter with a 351 on base percentage.
Yeah.
Doesn't strike out a ton.
No.
Although he hasn't played he's only played 150 games once
Yeah.
in his career, and in that year, 70 walks, 112 strikeouts.
Which would have been his rookie year, I believe.
No,
right?
that was his rookie year.
Yeah.
His rookie year, finished second in Rookie of the Year voting. 20 homers, 90 RBIs, 20 stolen bases. He's a good player. He's a role player, right? He's not the guy.
I agree.
But if the Orioles are just looking to add a bat that they can depend on, a guy who's going to come up with hits, he's going to play really good defense for them, he's going to get on base.
Yeah.
Andrew Benintendi wouldn't be a bad guy to sign.
He's no doubt better than Austin Hayes is.
Yeah,
no doubt.
No doubt. And let's let that lead. Let's let that lead into the next part of Orioles banter, and that's, do they stay or do they go?
Okay.
And the first guy at the top of my list is Austin Hayes.
Mm-hmm.
Is he a Baltimore Oriole in 2023?
Whew. It's a really tough one. I think if you look at his numbers in 21, you'd be inclined to think so. But the bat was really streaky this year. The swing decisions were bad. I didn't think his defense was quite as good as it was in 21.
Negative defensive runs saved.
Negative defense, yeah, exactly. And a lot of the metrics were not exactly kind to him. I don't know if he is. I think Austin Hayes is one of those guys that you're going to see as a great stepping stone into the next phase of this rebuild, the next competitive phase. But I'm not sure that he's in Baltimore for the long run.
Yeah, and here's the thing. If he is still here next year, I think he has to be willing to take a diminished role. I think he's got to be willing to be a bench player, to be a fourth outfielder.
I mean, he can be a fourth outfielder because he can play center field.
He can be a fourth outfielder.
Yeah.
Will he be? Will he be willing to be? Are you willing to pay him what's going to cost an arbitration to be your fourth outfielder?
Yeah.
And does that mean no more Ryan McKenna?
Well, I say it all the time with these guys that it's a really hard sell to take a guy who's been starting for as many years as he has and say, hey, now you're just a bench player. You're going to play twice a week. That's a really tough sell.
Right.
That's a tough change for them to make. So I don't.
And we felt like Ryan McKenna played a lot. He played less than 90 games this year.
Ryan McKenna proved me wrong and played a lot better than I thought he would.
He
really did.
And the thing that he has that Hayes doesn't have is speed.
Yeah.
He's got elite sprint speed.
Hayes used to. It's not there anymore.
Hayes is nowhere near as fast as he used to be. He's still faster than you or me.
Oh,
but
that's for sure.
I'm pretty fast though. But he's still faster than both. Hayes is faster. He's faster than both of us. He's not faster than Ryan McKenna.
No.
And Ryan McKenna is a better defender.
Yeah.
Ryan McKenna is a better defender. I think ultimately Hayes is a better hitter.
Yeah.
But do you really want to carry two of those guys on your roster? And I didn't put him on the list, but Ryan McKenna. Is Ryan McKenna back next year? I think Brandon Hyde loves him some Ryan McKenna, but the bat is just, to me, he was a really good fourth outfielder this year, and the bat was surprising for a good stretch there.
Yeah.
But ultimately, I think that he is kind of who we thought he was with the bat. I don't think he's ever going to be more than a 240 hitter.
No.
Is that a guy that you really... You're not. If a guy is a fourth outfielder, he's not going to be a great hitter.
Well, one of my biggest themes going into this offseason was that the Orioles drastically need to improve their bench to win the games they've got to win. When you have to use a punt lineup like Brandon Hyde loves to do, you've got to have the depth to make it still a really dangerous lineup. And that's what the Yankees do. That's what they couldn't when they were injured, but that's what they were doing in the beginning of the season. That's how they won so many games. That's what the Dodgers have done. That's what all the good teams have been able to do that. And the Orioles just didn't this year. And I don't know if a guy like Ryan McKenna really fits that mold.
Right, and ultimately for me, Austin Hayes does fit that mold. Austin Hayes fits the mold of if he's your fourth outfielder and you play him on Sunday to rest Colton Cowser.
That's good
for a day.
Right.
Then you're not like, oh, here we go again.
Yeah,
unless Cowser's hitting like 340, right? Which I don't think is going to happen.
No,
but so I'm more confident in a lineup when it's Austin Hayes than I am with Ryan McKenna, despite the fact that Austin Hayes couldn't hit a baseball for 3 months.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you're looking for a guy who is going to come off the bench and hit your clutch home run, I'll take Hayes any day over Ryan McKenna.
And here's the other thing. Say that Austin Hayes wins a battle in spring training and is your starting left fielder in 2020 on opening day in 2023, and he gets off to the hot start. You can't even trust it. You can enjoy it while it's happening, but you're constantly waiting. It's like a microcosm of the Orioles season this year where you're constantly waiting for the other shoe to drop. And it kind of did in September, but I don't want to get off on a tangent there. You're waiting for the other shoe to drop until he proves that he can go an entire season being a productive player, which he's yet to do.
And one thing that's gotten swept under the rug is the fact that he never could stay healthy until this year.
And then this year he did stay healthy.
He did.
And when we say healthy, he played.
He did.
I think that the wrist and hand issues are what hampered him.
Yeah, when I say healthy, I mean injured list is avoided, and that's what he did. So I don't know if you can trust Austin Hayes. There's too many factors that are too variable for me to say that they can run him out as the starting left fielder. But they might do that because Colton Cowser isn't quite ready yet, I don't think. I think there's going to be a little more time in AAA for him. Colton Cowser was excellent in AAA when he got his short taste there. But I think that's, to me, and
Connor Norby was excellent. Colton Cowser got off to a slow start. He came on late.
Is that true? Okay,
But Colton Cowser started very slowly.
Okay, fair enough. Maybe I could be wrong there, but regardless, I think Colton Cowser again is going to make a significant impact on next year's team, and Austin Hayes might be the guy just to be that bridge until him.
Anthony Santander, more home runs and RBIs than he's ever had. First Orioles switch hitter, hit over 30 home runs I think since 1988 or 87, something like that, and only the third to ever do it, along with Eddie Murray and Ken Singleton. Is he back next year? Due to make about $7.5 million in arbitration this year.
He's a tough one. Santander is certainly a tough one. He's the middle of the order bat for them right now, which is kind of the concerning thing. I do think he'll be back unless he's traded. I don't think a non-tender is going to happen. I would really doubt that.
No, they're not going to non-tender him.
No,
and
I
honestly,
highly doubt that.
$7.5 million for a guy that hits 30 homers and drives in 90 to 100 is. That's
The on-base capabilities got better, but he didn't maximize them, and I think
they got better in the first half. The second half, he was back to being the old.
I think he walked 52 times, somewhere around there,
something like that. But he walked like 37 times in the first 2.5 months of the year.
He did, and then dropped off. I think there were a lot of Orioles hitters who kind of plateaued in the second half of the season, which was frankly the reason they missed the playoffs. But.
Sure.
Santander is a tough one because, again, he's a streaky hitter, a guy that doesn't have great swing decisions, a guy that goes up there and you don't have a lot of confidence that he's going to get on base. And I think that's, again, when we talk about the middle of the order bat and the Orioles' need for that, the deficiencies in the guys they have are really prevalent, and Santander is one of them. He's not that middle of the order bat. He's more like a six hitter, and that's fine, but I don't know. $7 million, I think that makes sense. If he has trade value, if the Marlins or another team looking for an outfielder says, hey, we'll give you these prospects for him, I think the Orioles are going to take that any day. But if that doesn't happen, he'll be back.
Yeah, and you got to look at Kyle Stowers. And when we had Luke on the show last week, he said, I know about the reverse splits, but I think he swings at every pitch like it's a 3-1 fastball. And obviously the Orioles don't really care about his minor league splits because they see something in him that makes them think he can't hit left-handed pitching.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's the Orioles or if it's Brandon Hyde, just because Brandon Hyde matches up to a fault.
Yeah.
Right. But again, I do not know if that's because Mike Elias is telling him to, or if it's because that's just how he approaches the game. Right. So Kyle Stowers is a guy. Is he going to be? And he's not on this list, but Santander and Hayes. It ultimately comes down to what do you think of Kyle Stowers, and is Kyle Stowers going to be that guy that you can trot out there in the 7 hole? and know that he's gonna be a productive player.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely didn't feel like Kyle Stowers got a good shot this year. I didn't really feel like he was ran out there. We got to see what he was, but I definitely, the swing and miss is concerning, and I'm definitely concerned about that.
The aggressive approach that he takes, you like that, except for the fact that he swings at ugly pitches.
Yeah.
Like uglier pitches than you ever saw Adam Jones swing at. He
Right.
swings at really ugly pitches.
It's similar to what Hayes did all season. Or I should say this really the last 3 months of the season, because that's what Austin Hayes did. And Kyle Stowers was the same way. I don't think you can count on Kyle Stowers right now. Maybe the second half of 2023, he shows you something, and he's a completely different player. I don't know if you can count on him right now.
You've got to keep him on the major league roster, though. You don't have to, but you kind of do, because he's already. You know what he is at AAA.
He's proved himself there.
There is no point in him being at AAA next year. Unless he comes out of the gates and is hitting 140 in the middle of May, there's no point in having him back at AAA.
Well, it's another thing that's... he gets a bad rap, I think, because we've seen in Baltimore so many of these prospects come up and succeed. You look at Adley Rutschman coming up and lighting the world on fire, and Gunnar Henderson
and
playing
Manny Machado
really
back
well.
In the day.
Manny Machado. A lot of these prospects...
Ryan
Mountcastle came up and hit 333 in that shortened season. So a lot of these guys have had success right off the bat. When Kyle Stowers doesn't, that leads a lot of people immediately to say, well, maybe he's not the guy I thought he was. And maybe he's not the guy. Maybe he's not the starting outfielder that we thought he was going to be that hits 30 home runs per year. Maybe he isn't. We don't know that yet. But I'm not sure you can take this season and what he did and say that for a fact definitively. And like you said, that's why you've got to keep him on the roster. You don't know what he is yet.
Right. And the thing with Stowers, I'm inclined to say let him start in left field on opening day and sink or swim. Right? And if you get that middle of the order, and it all comes down to getting a middle of the order bat. And to me, it's so obvious that that's what they need to do, that if they don't do it, it's going to be mind-blowing to me. It's so obvious because now if you get that legitimate middle-of-the-order bat and your lineup goes Mullins, Rutschman, Henderson, free agent acquisition, Mountcastle, Santander, Stowers, that's a good 1 through 7.
Did you say Rutschman?
Yeah, I said Rutschman hitting second.
Okay, got it.
Right? So it's... To me, that's an amazing that's an amazing order 1 through 7 because Mountcastle is hitting where he probably should hit. He's hitting 5th between a big, threatening, imposing bat that bats 4th, and in front of Santander, who hit 33 home runs this year. Right, and then after that, you have Stowers, who I think, with enough playing time, becomes a 260, 25 to 30 homer guy.
Yeah.
And then that's before you even think about who's playing second base. Is it Ramon Arias batting 8th? And then, I don't know, who would you have batting 9th? I don't even know.
I don't know either. Frankly.
It's too early to tell. My brain's starting to hurt because of it. And Ramon Arias, is he back next year?
Regardless of the fact that he's a Gold Glove candidate. I think Ramon Arias will be back.
Yeah, and honestly, I think he moves to second base.
I think he could possibly move into a super utility role.
I think that's Mateo.
You think that's Mateo? Okay.
I think.
Well, I guess it comes down to who you think is better overall.
Right, and who do you sign? I am. If Jorge Mateo is the starting shortstop on opening day in 2023 for the Baltimore Orioles, I'm going to be upset. And it's not I don't have anything against him, except the fact that he's a 220 hitter with a 267 on base percentage.
Yes.
I like him. I love his defense. I love his speed. I love his energy. But he doesn't try to get on base. He doesn't try to bunt. He doesn't get on base. Can you imagine Jorge Mateo, what his stolen base numbers would look like? He stole 35 bases to lead the American League this year, and he got on base at a 267 clip. Add 80 points to that, and how many stolen bases does he have? He probably has 20 more.
At least. I was on Connor Newcomb's Locked On Orioles podcast to do the player review series, and I did Jorge Mateo. And what we talked about is the guy, most of his value in the 3.3 WAR I think he put up as far as Baseball Reference goes, all of the value that Jorge Mateo has comes from what he does, number one, defensively, but also on the base paths. Because when he gets on base, he's automatically going to go from first to second to third most of the time because he's gonna steal those bases. That's what he does. He had 35 stolen bases this year. He's very dangerous on the base paths. He's got to get on base to be able to steal those bases and to create those runs. And the fact that 267 is his on-base percentage is really concerning. The swing decisions are bad. He strikes out a ton. He doesn't walk a ton. If he was just at 310 even, he would be so much better. And I would pencil him in and say, even if he's a 220 hitter, but he's a 310 on-base guy, and he walked just a little more, it would be so much better. So much better.
I go back to Luke Jackson, and Luke Jackson is a great baseball mind, in my opinion, the guy that I put a lot of trust into. And he said, when I was talking to him at the stadium a couple weeks ago, he says to me, Jorge Mateo is a starting shortstop in the American League Central. He cannot be a starting shortstop and your number 9 hitter in the AL East. He just can't be. He screams super utility to me. He screams a guy that you can start him 2 days a week at shortstop, depending on who you sign. You can put him at second base. You can put him in the outfield.
Yeah.
He's going to pinch run for you. He screams super utility to me. I think he's a valuable player to the Orioles coming off the bench.
Okay.
He's a valuable player starting, but only because of his defense. He cannot be your starting shortstop next year. He just can't be.
Yeah, it's a tough sell to fans, I think. 267 isn't
people
enough.
Love him. People
they
love
do.
him. I love him.
Maybe they don't look at the on-base percentage enough.
Right. But people love him, but you have got to be better than that. You've got to be better than that offensively to start in the AL East at shortstop on a team that you expect to contend. And then finally, I want to ask you about Ryan Mountcastle, because I think that his peripherals suggest that he was a better hitter this year than he was last year, but the numbers just didn't back that up. Mount Baltimore hampered him a little bit.
Yeah.
I never thought about trading him. Still don't think about trading him, but on 105.7 The Fan, Rob Long this past week and Jeremy Kahn both said they think he's getting traded this offseason.
Really?
What are your thoughts on that?
I'm not sure I would trade him, but I do think that there's a good possibility if something happens to him if Jose Abreu comes in, because Jose Abreu is a significantly better player in almost every way.
Not defensively.
Okay, that's fair. I'm thinking with the bat. But I think Jose Abreu is a lot better hitter in basically every way. But Ryan Mountcastle hit the ball hard this year, and he just didn't find a lot of holes with it. And, you always say, if you're hitting into a lot of outs, eventually the hits are going to start falling, and it just seemed like they never did for him. It never happened. And maybe that was because of the wall. Maybe that was because of the way teams shifted on him. Maybe pitchers know how to pitch to him better now. I don't know what it is. Probably something in the form of analytics that other teams saw that basically they were able to get ahead of him, and they were able to limit his production. Ryan Mountcastle is a fine hitter. I don't think he's a middle-of-the-order hitter for this team at the moment. He's going to have to, again, with all these guys, we're talking about the same thing: walking more, striking out less, better swing decisions. Those are the three things he's got to do. Same thing with Austin Hayes. Same thing with Jorge Mateo. The three of them, if they can get those things down, they're going to be in great shape. And I know it's a lot, easier said than done, but that's what Ryan Mountcastle doesn't do compared to a guy like Jose Abreu. You've got Kobe Mayo coming up, maybe if he does end up at first base, that maybe that's the guy that spells Ryan Mountcastle. But I wouldn't say traded is something I was ever thinking about. I think that's unlikely.
And what people don't think about is Mountcastle's 25 years old and has played 2 full seasons.
Yeah.
Right? So why are we so quick? And if you look at his peripherals, he's got elite ability to find the barrel.
Yeah.
He's got super quick hands. He's got a ton of strength.
Yeah.
He's really got to work on the swing decisions.
He does.
The swing decisions are when he's on, he's not missing, and he's laying off those sliders out of the zone. When he's off, a lot of times he'll be on, and then he'll take himself out of at bats with his swing decisions. It's maddening. But if you look at what he did his entire professional career before making it to the majors, you look at that ability that he had, and he improved. If he had a down year, he improved the next year. Mm-hmm. He did that this year. He improved. It just didn't show up because he had to do a lot of bad luck. His expected batting average was 277, and his expected WOBA was 356.
Yeah.
So to me, that says that that's a player who, with the right guy hitting in front of him next year, could take off. He could absolutely take off.
That'd be
and
wonderful.
He's got excellent opposite field power.
He does.
Which another question I have for you, and I feel like you were high on this guy as a free agent coming in. JD Martinez.
I do like JD Martinez. Yeah.
The power's been sapped.
It has been. But JD Martinez, if you read the book Astro Ball, there's a great segment about him there. I've said this on the show before, but I love it, so I'm going to say it again. There's a segment on there about him watching different swings of his Astros teammates back in about 2011 to 2012. And
he
saying,
was with the Tigers then.
Before that, then. It was whenever he was with the Astros originally.
He was with the Astros, I think in like I think he may have won a World Series with the Astros in 2017.
Okay, so no. He was not on the Astros in 2017. I do not believe that's true. He was on the Astros in the early part of his career.
You're right. He was. He was on the Astros, and then he was with the Tigers, and then he got traded from the Tigers to Arizona, and then he signed with Boston. You were absolutely
in 2011, 2012, he was with the Astros.
You're absolutely correct.
Which is what I'm referencing. And he was watching a lot of his Astros teammates and saying, look at the way their swing path is. It's so flat. It's a line drive where I have this massive uppercut. I'm trying to hit home runs. And he went back and he rebuilt his swing, and he came back as one of the best contact hitters, one of the best, put the ball in play guys in baseball with such great bat to ball skills. And he's done that consistently over his career. And he's one of those guys, kind of like Trey Turner, where he's not trying for home runs, but they come because he's such a great pure hitter.
You look at his spray chart for his home runs, I think it's like 80% of his home runs are to the opposite field. It's something crazy.
And
man.
that plays great in Camden Yards because he is a righty. So JD Martinez fits this team, I think, really well.
But he's 35.
Yeah, I know.
And he's coming off two consecutive down years.
But does JD Martinez bring the same veteran leadership that Carlos Beltran did to the 2017 Astros when they won the World Series?
Maybe.
And Beltran didn't play that well in those years. I mean, Beltran was pretty average at best. I mean, Beltran was at the very end of his career. I believe he retired after 2017. So that's kind of what I think. I mean, you sign him up to a relatively team-friendly contract if JD's willing to take that. He gets to lead the young guys. He brings that veteran presence and gets on base.
Yeah,
you're
right. Beltran, he retired after 2017. He had 231 that year. His worst year of his career.
Right, but he brought that leadership. And they say, a lot of the players talk about it. Altuve, Correa, guys from that 2017 Astros team, they say...
Well, him and Brian McCann.
Yeah, they were big leaders in that clubhouse, and they really were part of the reason, outside of the sign stealing, that led them to win that World Series.
The sign stealing never bothered me. I mean,
all teams were doing it. They were all doing it.
It bothered me, but not to the extent of everybody else, because I'm like, if they're not banging on trash cans, they've got lights in the outfield, or they're going, woohoo, when a changeup is coming. Like, every team was doing it. If you ain't cheating, you ain't trying, right?
I mean, that's one way to put it.
Look, 2021, J.D. Martinez, he led the American League in doubles. He had 28 homers, drove in 99. He had 286 with a 349 on base percentage, 867 slugging.
Yeah.
But in 2020, 680... 867 on OPS. In 2020, 680 OPS. He hit 213 with a 291 on base percentage.
Yeah.
And then this year, 274, 341, 448 with a 790 OPS. Just the 16 home runs and the 62 RBIs. But he did have 43 doubles.
Those are numbers I really like. I think that's a good fit.
For the middle of the order?
Maybe not the middle of the order, but maybe that's tough. If he's hitting 274, 341, he's a better option than Santander is in the middle of the order.
Yeah, and if he's going to hit 40-plus doubles. And it's hard to hit home runs to right center field in Boston. Down the line at the pesky pole, super easy, right?
Mm-hmm.
But then it juts out quick, right? And that's if you're not hitting them over the down the line and left or down the line and right, it's a harder place to hit home runs. So I'm willing to give him the benefit of the doubt. If the Orioles sign him, I'm not going to bitch about it.
Yeah.
I would like somebody who's going to hit 30 home runs.
Fair, yeah.
For the middle, but maybe he is that guy. Maybe this was just a down year for him, and he was a victim of the circumstances there in Boston.
I mean, he hit 43 as a 30-year-old in 2018. He was really good.
He was one of the best hitters in baseball,
no doubt.
For the Diamondbacks and then for the Red Sox.
Yep.
He certainly was.
Yep.
It'll be interesting to see what they do, and we say this every week. Really, we're just previewing what's going to happen this offseason.
Because we're excited about it.
Yeah, and 2 weeks from now, the World Series is going to be over, and we're going to be talking. That's when we're going to really start rubbing our hands together and licking our chops. What are the Orioles going to do? And then watch. We'll get to the winter meetings, and there aren't even any rumors. You can tell that we're all just PTSD about what's going on with this team for 30 years.
By the way, real quick, actually, I'm going to make that my final thought. I have something to say about what you just said.
Okay.
I'm excited to say it.
We're going to catch our final break when we come. Oh, today's show, we've already gone through our sponsors. So today's show is brought to you by me. Hi, I'm Paul Valley, host of the Bat Around here for Press Box Sports every Saturday morning from 10 a.m. to noon, and co-host of Give That Fan a Podcast for Utah Street Report. Just want to say thank you to all of you for tuning into my two shows, and we'll be back after this on the Bat Around.
The Baltimore County Police Department is hiring. Entry-level officers start at close to $59,000 a year with a $10,000 bonus. Some restrictions apply. Plus a great retirement plan, medical, dental, and vision insurance, advancement to specialized units, tuition reimbursement, 15 sick days earned per calendar year, and even further incentives for military members and veterans. If you have a passion for service and want a career for life, visit joinbaltimorecountypd.com or call 410-887-5542. You must be a United States citizen, possess a valid driver's license, and have a high school diploma or GED equivalent. The Baltimore County Police Department is an equal opportunity employer.
Come experience Maryland's #1 sportsbook this NFL season at the FanDuel Sportsbook at Live Casino and Hotel, the ultimate place for any sports enthusiast. Take advantage of our 24/7 kiosks, massive video screens, and watch all the action from the best seat in the house. With more money paid out than anyone around, make every moment more at the new FanDuel Sportsbook at Live Casino and Hotel in Hanover, Maryland. Please play responsibly. Gambling problem? Please call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit mdgamblinghelp.org.
Whether your focus is luxury and comfort, convenience and technologically advanced connectivity, or sporty performance and aggressive styling, we've got the perfect Highlander for you. Check out buyatoyota.com for deals on new Highlanders from your local Toyota dealer today.
Glory Days Grill's Oktoberfest menu is now running. It's one of their most popular seasonal menus all year. It features the chicken schnitzel, the Oktoberfest brewer's platter, the brewer's sausage sandwich, the Bavarian burger with a pretzel bun, the cheddar ale soup, the slam dunk pretzels, and the apple cobbler. All of these meals pair well with Oktoberfest beers and Angry Orchard on draft. Dine in or order online at glorydaysgrill.com and pick up your favorites to take home. Glory Days Grill, great food, good sports.
That first sip. That first bite. Start your day off right with a delicious breakfast at Royal Farms. Choose from a fantastic selection of fresh Royal Farms breakfast sandwiches and top it off with a rich hot cup of the freshest coffee in the world. At Royal Farms, breakfast is available day and night. It's the freshest breakfast in the world. Real fresh, real fast. Royal Farms.
Have you been to Guilford Hall Brewery? Located in Baltimore's Station North neighborhood, Guilford Hall Brewery breaks the craft brew mold with their great handcrafted microbrews and amazing Bavarian-style food selections. Join Guilford Hall 7 days a week for Orioles, Ravens, and all of your favorite college games. Make plans now to watch the big games, play trivia, or bring your dog for Yappy Hour. They even have free valet service on Friday and Saturday nights. Go to guilfordhall.com for a complete schedule of events, beer listings, and food and drink specials. We'll see you at Guilford Hall Brewery.
The latest edition of Press Box is available now. On the cover, New Maryland basketball coach Kevin Willard sits down with Stan Charles and Glenn Clark to discuss the situation he inherited in College Park and how he plans to get the program turned around. Also, inside, we introduce you to men's and women's college basketball players from all of the teams in the area. And Bo Smoka profiles Ravens receiver Devin Duvernay. Press Box is available for free at over 500 area locations, including 60 Royal Farm stores, and you can always find the entire edition as well as the best daily coverage of the Orioles, Ravens, and Terps at PressBoxOnline.com.
All right, we are back here on the Bat Around, our final segment of the show. We might as well just say that the show is from 10 a.m. to 12:30 every day.
Might as well change it.
Right, but time for Take the Rake. Today, Take the Rake has no sponsors because we did all of our reads early and throughout the show. But Take the Rake, we had Luke Jackson and Ryan Blake in here last week. Zach did not make a pick. I knew he wouldn't be able to because he was playing in a golf tournament that ended up lasting 6 hours that day.
My.
So he ended up not making a pick. I think it's his first one you've ever missed.
I think 6 hours actually may be a little low. We started, our tee time is at 11:40. I think we left the golf course around 6:30. I mean, because we walked all 18, and we had to wait for other groups to go, and it was, I walked 10 miles day one, 8.9 miles day two. My body hurts still.
I love playing golf. Hate 6 hour rounds.
Oh, they're the worst.
Hate 6 hour rounds.
By hole 13, I was checked out.
And how do you get into a rhythm? You can't.
You can't.
You can't get into a rhythm at all because you're playing. How are we starting the show and ending the show talking about golf?
It's a lot of fun. Why not?
Yeah, I do love golf. It's the off season. What do baseball players do in the off season? They play golf.
They golf.
Exactly.
Josh Allen said he was going to play golf on his bye week coming up for the Bills.
Yeah,
so
they all are.
that's what you do.
Lamar Jackson might be out there playing golf.
Maybe.
I'll bet he's probably pretty good at golf.
I'd love to play golf with him. He's good at Lamar Jackson's good at everything.
He's good
he
at
does.
everything. He's
Crazy
legitimately
athlete.
good at everything. So Luke Jackson, last week he took Jose Altuve and Kyle Schwarber. Altuve is 0 for 23.
Whoa.
In the postseason. And Schwarber in the last week went 4 for 12, 2 home runs, 3 RBIs, 4 walks, 2 Ks. Ryan Blake took Yordan Alvarez and Juan Soto. Alvarez this past week went 1 for 13, 2 walks, 5 Ks. Soto 3 for 15, 1 walk, 2 RBIs, 5 Ks. So between the two of them, no home runs and 10 strikeouts and a 4 for 28 performance. It's a 143 batting average between the two of them. Not going to get it done. I took Aaron Judge and Frederick Freeman. And Freddie Freeman. I don't know if Freddie's short for Frederick, but I took Freddie Freeman. Judge went 5 for 20, 2 home runs, 3 RBIs, no walks, surprisingly, 5 Ks. Freeman, 3 for 4, 2 RBIs, 1 K. He only played in the one game. I told the guys, I said, make sure you take a guy that you're pretty sure is going to be playing the entire week. And then I took Freddie Freeman, and he was done that evening.
Mm-hmm.
I still think I won because my two guys combined for more hits than any other combination.
I would say you won.
And Freeman had one less hit than Schwarber and as many hits he had more hits than Altuve and Alvarez, as many hits as Soto, and one less hit than Schwarber, and he played in one game.
Yeah, I would say you won.
I think I won.
Mm-hmm.
So that means I get to pick first for this week. And we're going to take it. Are we still going to? We'll still take 2 players. We'll take one from the American League and we'll take one from the National League. And I'm going to look at it and I'm going to say that the Astros are going to. It's going to go 7 games, I think. Stan made a really interesting point that this series could be tied up.
Okay.
But I think the Astros are going to the World Series regardless. So for my first pick, I'm going to take Jose Altuve.
Okay.
I'm taking Altuve. Because there's no way that he had 300. He had the third best OPS in the American League this year. He had 28 home runs. There's no way that he's not about to get red hot.
Okay.
He's 0 for 23, which is like historically the worst performance in the postseason.
That's not great.
Postseason history. There's no way that he's not about to go like 3 for 5 tonight.
Yeah.
Right. So I'm taking Altuve, and in the National League, Phillies are up 2-1. This series is probably going 7. Who do I think is going to the World Series? I'm taking Bryce Harper.
Okay. All right, give me... See, I really want to take Harrison Bader because Harrison Bader has had an unbelievable postseason so far.
I think he's done. I think his hot streak is done. Please take it.
That's why it's almost tough to say. Give me Bregman. Bregman has been a guy who's been really consistent in the postseason over his entire career. Give me Alex Bregman. And then for the National League, this one's a little harder. Give me Manny Machado.
I knew you were taking Manny.
Yeah,
Manny's a great pick. He's the best hitter in that lineup. He's the only
agree.
He's the only player batting above 256 in that lineup.
It's either him or Schwarber. I kind of kicking myself for not taking Schwarber, but Manny's they're both great players. Hard to choose.
Schwarber is one of those guys who could go 2 for 4 with 2 home runs and 5 ribeye steaks, or he could go 0 for 4 with 4 strikeouts.
100%. He's all or nothing.
I'll
take Manny.
I think what did he hit this year? Like 212.
Yeah, but I think he hit 46 home runs.
He did.
So.
He hit 46 home runs, second in all of baseball. Yeah. But that's a big all or nothing guy to be taken for take to rake. All right, so I take Jose Altuve and Bryce Harper. Zach takes Alex Bregman and Manny Machado. We will see how that plays out next Saturday.
By the way, AJ asked if I carried my bag or I put it on a pool cart. I carried the bag on my back the entire day.
That makes it harder.
I was like a mule for my bag. So
that definitely makes it harder, for sure. So my final thought, I don't really have a final thought prepared for today.
It's hard to have final thoughts when there's not much baseball actually being played at the moment.
Well, I mean,
to be fair.
When there's no Orioles baseball, because the final thought I like to have be about the Orioles, right? And so my final thought for the Orioles is I firmly believe that their big free agent signing is a middle of the order bet. I like no, we speculate and we say, well, this isn't happening and that's not happening, or this could happen and they'd be best to do this. I firmly believe they are signing somebody to bat fourth on this team.
Okay.
And the reason I believe that is because it's too glaring of a need. When Rakabatko is saying that the number one priority is a middle of the order bat, when Dan Connolly's saying that, you're not going to hear many people covering the Orioles at this point
disagree with that.
They're going to disagree with that.
Yeah.
You know, yes, they need pitching. They have a ton of starting options, but again, the MLB Trade Rumors offseason outlook article that they put out on the Orioles, I never thought about it in the way that they put it out there, and it's that they have all these guys, but none of them are proven.
Yeah.
You have Grayson Rodriguez, who you expect to be an ace, but he's not. He hasn't done anything at the big league level yet. Kyle Bradish, Jordan Lyles, all had ERAs between 4 and 5.
Yeah.
Tyler Wells hasn't been able to stay healthy throughout his minor league or big league career.
Yeah.
Dean Kramer, he was good, and Austin Voth was good. But are those guys you can depend on? They have all these starting pitching candidates, but none of them are really proven.
Yeah.
So I do believe that they're going to go out there and get a frontline starting pitcher.
Okay.
But I think that's coming via trade. I don't think they're in on guys like Verlander and DeGrom or Kershaw, who I think will
I don't think so either.
I think that their big free agent signing is a legitimate middle of the order bat. Who that is, whether it's JD Martinez or Jose Abreu or Aaron Judge, remains to be seen.
It won't be Aaron Judge.
It won't be Aaron Judge, but man, if it was. But I think they're going to do that, and that's why I'm so excited for this offseason. I think I think they're going to sign a couple of guys.
So my final thought is going to be my wish list of guys. My current wish list is really up to 3 players right now.
Mm-hmm.
Give me, and this is trying to be as realistic as possible without being crazy. So Aaron Judge is not going to make my wish list. Trey Turner is not going to make my wish list. But I think Dansby Swanson, if he doesn't return to Atlanta, is on my wish list.
Mm-hmm.
I think Jose Abreu, if he doesn't return to the White Sox, is on my wish list. Now, obviously, they're not going to get both. It's probably going to be
They
one
could get both. Why can't they get both?
Okay, they could.
I mean, if Dansby Swanson's your big splash, and then Jose Abreu at, 2 years, $36 million?
Yeah, okay, fair. I'm actually going to add one more guy to my wish list right now. I'm going to go with 4 guys. It's going to be 2 pitchers, and they're both on the same team. Sandy Alcantara and Jesus Luzardo are that's my 4-player wish list right now. Both obviously would have to come from trade when it comes to the 2 Marlins pitchers, but I think they could easily get one of the 2. They're going to have to give up a lot, but I think it's going to be worth it because I really like those arms. And as Stan said with Luzardo, he pitched really well this year. He had an under 3 ERA, but there's like a whole other side of him that hasn't been opened up yet. So I'm waiting for them to do that.
I think that there's no chance that the Marlins are trading away Sandy Alcantara. I just think that you'd have to give up.
It's a wish list.
Yeah, it is a wish list, but you said you're trying to be realistic.
Okay, so we'll go with Pablo Lopez then. I'll replace it. We'll go Pablo Lopez.
Okay. I mean, look, it's your wish list. If you want them to try and get Sandy Alcantara, I just think you're gonna have to give.
No,
up
you're
way
right.
Too much.
It's too unrealistic. We'll go.
If the Marlins are gonna, if they want to stockpile prospects and all that, and they want to build. That's a guy that they're going to want to build around.
You're right. Let's go Pablo Lopez and Jesus Luzardo. We'll go with those 2.
Okay, sounds good. We haven't done a Ravens preview here with you. We didn't do one 2 weeks ago. You owe me $5.
Yeah, I do owe you $5. Yeah. You know what? I'm going to send you $5 right now, so we have it on the show to prove it.
So Zach,
I totally forgot about that.
Zach and I had a friendly bet for $5. He bet that Josh Allen would throw for 400 plus yards against the Ravens. I said he would not. He threw for 213 yards.
Yeah, well,
and the Ravens lost. I would have rather him throw for 400 and the Ravens won. But so Zach owes me $5.
You're getting it right now.
Thank you, sir. So the Ravens are playing the Browns. They should be 6-0. Instead, they are 3-3 because they've blown 3 double-digit fourth-quarter leads this season. Lamar's saying that they're tired of losing. They're all talking about how they're pissed off. Marlon Humphrey's putting out tweets saying insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results.
Hate that.
What did he mean by that?
God only knows. I don't know what that. I mean, what is that, Marlon? I mean,
so what are the what? So doing the same thing over and over again? What are they doing over and over again to cause them to blow these deficits? Because they're coming back on the defense. It's because the offense is taking their foot off the gas. And now you have no J.K. Dobbins. Andrews is on the injury list. Bateman's still on the injury list. Marcus Peters is on the injury list. Pat Ricard's on the injury list. And you have a game 4 days later.
I'm going to come right out and say it, and it's going to be something that a lot of people are going to disagree with, but I'm going to say it. John Harbaugh is an excellent coach. John Harbaugh has lost, unfortunately, for the Ravens, originality and an offense that is sustainable at this moment. And I think for John Harbaugh and Greg Roman, their time, I think, at this point, I'm a huge John Harbaugh fan, I think his time might be up because it's just, frankly, getting too unoriginal. And every team knows exactly right now how to beat the Baltimore Ravens. They know it coming into the game. Maybe they can't adapt to it to the fourth quarter, but then you see it happen. The offense gets shut down. That's on John Harbaugh. That's on Greg Roman. There's no originality. They've ran the same 7 plays in different variations. That's what they've done the entire time Lamar Jackson's been quarterback this team. They need someone with originality coming into this team. As much as I love John Harbaugh and as incredible of a coach as he is, I think the Ravens need to move on. I'm finally saying that.
Well, and I said it last week. You either need to get rid of Roman or you need to get rid of Harbaugh. And some agreed with me. Yeah. Some disagreed with me. And it's a fair question. If you get rid of Harbaugh, who do you replace him with?
Well, right. And I have been the staunchest Harbaugh supporter.
If Harbaugh, I think Harbaugh is a great coach. And
he is.
People are right when they say if Harbaugh is fired on Monday, he'll have a job by Tuesday.
He will. Yeah.
Right? And I know that to be the case. You get called for 12 men on defense, illegal formations,
every game,
and illegal shifting. At least one of them every game, and sometimes all 3 of them.
Yeah.
To me, that falls on John Harbaugh.
Can I read a tweet that I put out earlier this week? It was on, I believe, it was on Sunday. As I was at the golf tournament, I was mad that I didn't play that well, mad about the Ravens losing. So I tweeted this, and I said that, let me pull it up here. I said, there has to be consequences for Ravens personnel at this point. The Giants, they're 5-1 right now with Daniel Jones at quarterback and significantly less roster talent than the Baltimore Ravens. The Ravens are predictable, they're undisciplined, and unoriginal. And that's, for me, that's why I think that John Harbaugh, as unfortunately, because he is a great coach, it would be unfortunate to have him go, but I think it's time to move on to something more original.
They're not going to fire Harbaugh midseason.
They're not going to.
That's not going to happen. They could, and I'm willing to bet that they will.
Yeah.
Unless they get off on a nice run here.
Yeah.
They could and potentially will get rid of Greg Roman midseason.
Bisciotti's not going to take 2 losing seasons in a row. I'm going to tell you that right now.
Yeah, and they're not going to post 2 losing seasons.
No. Well, not losing seasons, missing the playoffs is what I mean.
Right. And this is a winnable division unless the Bengals get super hot. And look, the Steelers just beat, albeit a flawed team, but they just beat the Buccaneers the other day. So. And the Browns have Deshaun Watson, so if they can tread water till he gets back and he can be the old Deshaun Watson, either way, he's a piece of crap. But I digress. If the offense doesn't get off and running, if they don't form some kind of identity, Greg Roman's going to go.
He's got it.
They're going to go. And it doesn't bode well that probably the most talented running back on their roster just had a second knee surgery.
Yes. Even with Gus Edwards coming back.
Even with Gus Edwards coming back. J.K. Dobbins, he can do so much, but that knee, and then you have to wonder, because they brought Ronnie Stanley back last year. He played 1 game, and then he had surgery again and missed the rest of the year. They bring J.K. Dobbins back, and they slow played him, and it still was too soon, apparently, for him. So now you have to wonder, what are they doing with their medical personnel that these guys are coming back from surgery and coming back from injury, and then they're hurt again.
It's been something that's happened for 5+ years now with this team. It seems like guys get injured more on the Baltimore Ravens. I mean, they were the statistically most injured team of all time last year. That should tell you something.
They've got to be the most injured team in the last decade.
And maybe that falls on Harbaugh a little bit too.
Yeah.
And it also, by the way,
he's common denominator.
As much as people hate Greg Roman, the hate he gets is a lot. And I do feel bad for him in a little bit of a way, but it's also on John Harbaugh because John Harbaugh hired him, and he's the one deciding to keep Greg Roman around. So as much as I love Harbaugh, and as much as I've been the staunchest supporter of John Harbaugh over the years,
15 years is a long time.
I'm ready to move on.
15 years is a long time.
I'm ready to move
Sometimes on. You just need to move on.
I also have thoughts on Eric DeCosta, but I can save those for another show.
Sure. But look, Ronnie Stanley's back and playing at a high level.
Yeah.
Kenyon Drake. Is it Kenyon or Kenyon?
Kenyon.
Kenyon Drake. People were talking about. I always say people were. Some out there were talking about how he's not that good. And then he was explosive last week. He was dominant last week, which it's mind-numbing to me that first and goal inside the 5, and they throw the ball 3 straight times.
Yeah. Well, is it? Does it surprise you? I don't know if it surprises me at this point.
Honestly,
sure.
honestly, not really. It's a very Ravens thing to do.
Yeah.
And they used to be they're first and goal inside the 5. They're scoring, whether it's Lamar or it's Gus or it's Dobbins or at the time Ingram. Somebody's scoring. Yeah. Right. So I look at this team and I say, Ronnie Stanley's back. He's playing. He's healthy and he looks great. Zeitler is so good at right guard.
Yeah.
Is Morgan Moses going to play? And if he doesn't, Pat McCary is a decent fill-in. Linderbaum is a good center who's a little undisciplined right now. He has a lot of penalties. But I look for the Ravens to run the ball a lot on Sunday. Justice Hill's not even on the injury report. Gus Edwards may be back. I still think they hold him out till Thursday when he has to be back.
Yeah.
But between Hill, Edwards, between Hill, Drake, and even Mike Davis, you might even see Tyler Beatty promoted to the active roster. They're going to run the hell out of the ball.
Duvernay in the backfield a little bit more too.
They're going to need the Ravens are going to rush for 250. On Sunday. I think they're going to control the clock. I think they're going to get a lead and they're going to hold on to it. Okay. I look for the Ravens to win this one in a statement against the Browns, who I believe is a lesser opponent. And I look for the Ravens to win this game 31-13.
Okay. I'm going Ravens 27, Browns 24. Make it a close game. I don't believe in them to hold these fourth quarter leads. I think they're going to win it, but I think it's going to be close. I think the Browns are going to come back in the fourth quarter and make it a game.
Lamar's got to play better.
He's got to play better.
He's got to play better. He was really good the first 2 weeks, and he's been mediocre at best the last 4.
You can look at the fumble he had last week, and you can look at the interception he had last week, and in both of them, if you look down the field, everyone's blanketed because guys are running the most basic, simple routes that teams know how to cover because that's on Greg Roman.
They need more. They've ignored wide receiver too long, and drafting Hollywood Brown and drafting Rashad Bateman is not addressing wide receiver. It's drafting one guy. Right. Be players. Yeah. Go get DJ Moore. Be a player for somebody that you sign in free agency or that you trade for, and revamp your receiving core because Duvernay's a nice player and Bateman's a nice player when he's on the field. You need more than that.
Bringing in Deshaun Jackson hurts a little bit to me. That's like
notice how I didn't even mention him. To me, he's nothing.
Exactly.
He's a guy that's going to go deep a lot. Like cool. Like to me, 35 years old, 36 years old, basically.
That's not an answer to your wide receiver needs.
All he does is get hurt anymore. Like, come on. Let's go give Des Bryant a call too. Also, how about David Boston?
Kind of a weird fit because he's not a locker room guy. He said if you go on Google, search some of the things that Deshaun Jackson has said the past few years. It's not pretty. Yeah. So I'm not sure that's a good fit. Bishotti loves guys or the clean cut, very well spoken and uncontroversial guys. I'm not sure that Deshaun Jackson fits that mold. It's kind of weird.
Well, we'll see for sure starting on Sunday. I'll be at the game. So
yeah.
All right, that's gonna do it for us here on the Batter On. Another more than 2.5 hour long show. Sorry guys, we just like to talk. All right. Thank you to Stan the Fan Charles for his weekly segment. Thank you to Tony Gwynn Jr. for taking time out of his busy schedule to discuss the Padres, their present and their future. Thanks to Zach for everything he does and for coming back and not just leaving the show for good after his golf tournament.
I'm just going to go play golf full time now probably.
Guys, thank you for tuning in to the show. We will be back next week on the Bat Around. Until then,